Well, there you go. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Primetime Gaming. This is Mr. BoomStick XL. Folks, we had a little bit of technical difficulties to start because obviously I left it on the Xbox Pack the Podcast instead of bringing it to Primetime Gaming, and I've been in front of the PC for the last hour. I hate when I do that, folks, but listen, it happened. We are live. In the background, folks, you're going to get a chance to see as we talk about the Xbox game showcase as well as the well, not the Bethesda Direct, more so the Starfield Direct. We're also going to be on the back half of the show, folks. Big news in the FTC world. It looks like Lina and the FTC are going to wind up getting a little short. They put in for, or they're going to be filing the injunction to block the deal. And for good news for Microsoft and for Activision, because the same judge that put the kibosh on the gamers lawsuit, lawsuit that has been taken over the interwebs, is also seeing this case as well. I know a lot of people are tired of talking about ABK, but to be honest with you, we have to talk about it because it's big happening news, and this injunction, if it's denied in a couple of weeks, it looks like the FTC is going to lose. We all kind of thought that from the beginning. But we have an amazing show for you. Let's start off with Kay Asante. He's off camera, folks, today because you know what? He had a bit of a long day. Kay Asante, how you feeling, brother? Welcome.
Oh, I am feeling okay. I feel like I should be wearing my Xbox onesie like I was over the weekend. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long day, but I'm here. I'm happy. I know we're going to talk a bit more about the showcases and what we thought about it and all that. This we've had some time. There's some dust that has been settled. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So I'm here for it. Welcome everybody.
Yeah, you know what? We actually haven't had a chance to sit down as Primetime Gaming Podcast and talk about what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we expect for the future. We might even get in some talk about the extended showcase that didn't really hit as hard, or it wasn't as memorable as you will as last year's. But I think that's because the Xbox Showcase and the Starfield Direct was so powerful that it really was a daunting task to ask for it to be better. We got an update on some games. Again, it didn't hit 100% for me. But folks, you know, this first of all, this has been an amazing week. Not only is Xbox flying high, we have the ROG Ally released yesterday. I got mine today. Of course, in the wild of everyone that's starting to take pictures of it, the Starfield controller, which by far is probably the nicest controller ever made. It's probably my favorite now, and my favorite was the Titanfall one, which I have. I have it brand new. This one I haven't used because it's that important to me as a big Titanfall fan. But Dutch, man, I didn't think you were going to make it here tonight, but you are here. This is the marathon man, folks, of podcasting. He has been putting in and grinding away. Thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Yeah, it is the 10th show in 5 days and 12 in a week. So fun. It's been a fun week. It's been a fun but long week, and I can't wait for a week off.
Okay. So look, at the end of the day, brother, you're gonna have to recharge your batteries because, well, you don't want to burn yourself out, folks. Listen, I just got a message from Hargeet. He's not going to be able to join us tonight. He'll be back next week because he's having some work issues that he has to take care of. So of course we will get Hargeet back here next week. And Mag is also out vacationing with his family, and he will also be back next week. So I think that we can do a bang-up job, not only talking about the Starfield Direct, not only talking about the Xbox Showcase, but of course, on the back end, getting into the injunction that Lina and the FTC are trying to file against the ABK deal. And we'll get some specifics from Everborn Saga, who has really been on top of this. Everborn, how you feeling, brother?
I feel like crap. I don't know, but you guys can hear me, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah. No. I don't know. I just started sneezing and coughing like 10 minutes before the show. But other than that, I'm good. I'm good. I'm very excited. There's a lot of things going on. I got my ROG Ally yesterday. It took a whole day to get it set up. I got my Starfield headset in the mail, but the controller has not arrived yet for some reason. And I am sitting on pins and needle. And I have a backup headset and controller that I do not plan on opening. We're just going to keep that for one day.
Or maybe get lucky enough to get Todd Howard or to sign it.
We'll see. Got it maybe at the next Fan Fest. So very exciting time, and we are on the eve of the end of the saga that is this Activision deal, one way or the other. I think we're gonna know something within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then our national nightmare will be done. I know Dutch will be happy about that. And we all want to focus on the games, and then this amazing 10 out of 10 showcase. I don't care what nobody says. Then you had the Ubisoft Forward that we got to talk about because they showed Star Wars and Avatar and all that. And then I like the extended because we did get some gameplay where we didn't. Plus we got some announcements. So it's a great, fantastic. Like I know we've said this before, but like tangibly. Like, can you think of a time when Xbox has had more of an upside? This is a wild time if you're an Xbox, just a gamer in general. But if you're an Xbox fan, especially, these are fantastic times. So I'm excited.
Well, I mean, listen, the year for Xbox, as we know, folks, has been up and down. Right? You know, obviously, we started off the year with an incredible surprise in Hi-Fi Rush. Right, that took everyone by storm. Obviously it's sitting still in my top 3 of 2023 for sure. It's probably going to win some awards, certainly in the music game genre, because there's not really that many games that are like that. But just on new IPs and seeing what Tango can do is just another notch in the belt for anyone that is a fan of Japanese type games, right? And we know that they showed up big at this show. I know. I was listening to the last week's, or I think was it Mondays? Yeah, it was Mondays. Xbox 2 with Rand and of course Jez Corden, and they were talking about how the Japanese gaming scene showed up in a big way. Capcom showed off, Atlas showed off, Sega showed off as well. So it's great to see, but I do want to get into some of the talk, guys, that has been going on. First of all, the word salty cannot be underused today. Dutch, you've been hanging out. I mean, obviously, you've been very busy with this podcast, and you've been seeing the people come in and out of the chats. I mean, you've done almost 10 shows in 5 days, but you've also kept your ear to the ground with social media. And I gotta tell you, man, it's a bit disturbing when Xbox goes and puts their best foot forward. They deliver a show that it's been considered by many to be an 11 out of 10. I being one of them. I think that this show slapped on every start to finish, no questions asked. We got to see Japan and those types of games that many Xbox gamers like to support upfront and everyone on display. We got a chance to see a lot of Xbox first party games. Mostly were gameplay, which they said they would be. They focused in on single player, story driven narrative games that we've been asking for. We got some surprises with Clockwork Revolution by inXile, which is going to be one heck of a game. Following the incredible Xbox show, we got 45 minutes, Dutch, of Starfield. And yes, I get it, folks. There may be somebody of the nearly 500 people that are already here that you're really bent out of shape about it being locked at 4K at 30 frames. And if you are, hey, listen, I hear you. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm going to play that game. I think the lock 30 is, and again, I watched the interview. I believe him. I mean, Kay Sante has something different to say about that regarding potential technical limitations with the Series X. But I think that as vast a universe as we're going to travel in, Dutch, it needed to be there in order to tell a story that wasn't a Bethesda game. Now, if that's the case, then so be it. But what I really want to focus on, because we're going to talk about the show and get your hot takes on it, but my disappointment in so many people in this community, and what I'm talking about, and of course, I'm not going to single anybody out. Listen, have your opinion, be a troll, be a knucklehead. You're only going to lose, credit, with the real gamers of the community. But the negativity surrounding just about every game on this showcase, which by far, and we're talking about PlayStation gamers, we're talking about some infamous PlayStation gaming content creators, Dutch, that just went out of their way to dump on Xbox, as they always do. And I just say that if you should be ashamed, because this was a show of shows. This PlayStation show was just rubbish. We all know that. Jeff's show was a 7 at best. The one that saved the gaming summer shows is Xbox by leaps and bounds. Let's get your hot take on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of the shows themselves. I mean, people tuned into the stuff after the Ubisoft and were like, "Oh, Ubisoft had a good show." I was like, "No, if you watched it, they really didn't." That was a dull show.
Yeah,
it was a dull show. The trailers might look cool afterwards, but watching that live was painful. But yeah, Sony Showcase didn't do anything. Summer Game Fest was okay. Picked up at the end with 2 announcements that Sony should have showed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which was weird in itself. But then, of course, we got to what we were all waiting for, which was to see what Xbox were going to do on Sunday. And we all said they needed to come out swinging. They needed to do their best, have a great show. Unfortunately, a couple of little things leaked beforehand, but it wasn't the big surprises, thankfully. There would have been nicer extra surprises if they had have remained unleaked, with, of course, Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Tactica being announced as Game Pass Day 1. Thankfully, too, the other Japanese games weren't leaked. So, yeah, it's great to see that. And, of course, there's still some confusion around the second game, which was Persona's new game, Refantasio, which is looking like it's exclusive.
You know what? I've been checking on every day to see if there was going to be an update to their site, and it appears, Dutch, you are absolutely correct that it is in fact an Xbox exclusive. I mean, timed potentially, but right now it's an exclusive.
Yeah, Dutch, you remember everybody who's like, no, that's customer. It's going to be 2 days, and it's going to say it on the website. It doesn't say it yet.
Mm-mm.
And all of the devs have literally got it in their bios. Like, all of the people that are working on that game have got it in the bios, coming to Xbox Series X and PC. That's it.
Yep.
So it looks like, at least for timed purposes, it's exclusive.
By the way,
massive.
Yeah, and even if it wasn't, but there's some kind of marketing thing that says we're only going to say it until this time. This is Atlas we're talking about, who actively went out of their way to ignore Xbox for like over a decade.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So
and it's it's hats off to Microsoft for the work that they're doing with these Japanese devs, and there was a few in there as well. There was a Chinese dev for the horror game as well.
Yes,
forgetting the name of it.
Yeah,
the one with the
one with the camera, and use like the ghost tracking devices.
Yeah, and the one on the oil rig, that was a Chinese dev as well.
Yeah,
the little horror game, that was that, and then of course, like I said, the one that looked like Onimusha, that one.
That one's by Capcom. That looks phenomenal. Yeah,
yeah. So it's fantastic work by Xbox. Well done for them for getting so many awesome Japanese and Chinese titles onto the platform. Day one in Game Pass, first reveals, and looks like one of them's exclusive by the makers of Persona, which is huge. So hats off to them for that front. Those games aren't for me specifically. I'm not much into the anime stylings of those games. if there are other types of RPGs like the new Yakuza that they announced on this show, by the way, which looks like they've got advertising rights for. Again, hats off. And then, of course, we saw the huge announcement for the new Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws, which, if anybody had the chance to watch the actual gameplay breakdown on Ubisoft, that is looking phenomenal. Like, my doubts went straight out the window for it. As soon as I seen it, I was like, yeah, they know exactly what they're doing with this. The styling is perfect. The wanted system that they've got on there as well, where they've got the Empire on the right, and you've got like bars going around and everything. I'm super hyped for that. But from Xbox's shown, it's been quite laughable on social media watching people tell developers that their game isn't gameplay.
Oh yeah,
Hilarious.
Pretty embarrassing.
It is really baffling, and I've multiple. I was going, don't lie, that's in engine, and I'm like, do you realize you look like talking to above is the lead lighting developer for Fable? I'm sure he knows his game. He's saying it's funny that people still think this isn't real gameplay. I take that as the highest compliment. That is what the game looks like. That is what the game will look like in game. That is how the game is playing currently. That is gameplay. Unfortunately, for people who don't want it to be, because it doesn't fit within their narrative.
You know what's hilarious about all of that? They'll tell you, because we went through stages of grief. Oh, that's CGI. They say, no, it's not. It's in game. Oh, is it running on an Xbox? Yes, it's running. It was captured on a Series X. Oh, that's not gameplay. Yes, it's gameplay. Oh, that's a cinematic. That's not the same as game. Well, no. Then they said, no, it's in engine. They were like, no, it's in game. Right? And then we get to the place where they're like, show me the button that is being pressed. I'm just like, wait.
What about the Fable people being accused of a downgrade? And they're like, wait a second, how could this be downgraded if what you saw in the beginning was the first trailer was CGI? We haven't seen gameplay. I don't understand this.
But Dutch, let me ask you this question. When the same people play Spider-Man and God of War and Last of Us, and there is a QTE event or scene where you have to, it's cinematic, but you have to press the button at the right time. Do they consider that gameplay?
Yeah, exactly. And yes, they do, is the answer.
Funny. But anyway,
yes,
I'm sorry.
They
do. That bothered me too. I'm glad you brought it up because I forgot about it. Now my blood's boiling again.
Didn't go further than that. I've got another issue. Of course, we've all kind of got an issue with the second one, which I want to bring up. Before I get to some of the cool ones that I didn't have issues with, Hellblade needs combat gameplay.
Oh, that's 100%. That's 100%.
That demo that they showed off is pretty and as audio fantastic as it was. That wasn't what we needed now. We've seen audio tech demos. We've seen this is her walking and throwing a spear. We've seen visual representations of how the game's going to look. We know it's going to look beautiful. What we need to see is combat gameplay. Now, I have full faith that as time draws closer, they will do such things. And we know it's releasing in 2024, which means time's on our side that we're going to see it sooner rather than later. The issue we're going to have here is Hellblade has and always will be a HUD-less game, which means that even when combat gameplay is shown, unless they see somebody literally sitting with like this in front of a screen, playing the game in front of them, they will still deny it as gameplay.
Wait, Dutch, you don't think they'll deny it even though they're holding a controller?
Oh, of course they will. Of course they will. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that is the only way they can show them what that is, and that it is gameplay, because they won't believe it otherwise, because it's a HUD-less game. It doesn't have it at all, which is really weird. But it's always been the case, so people are still going to just doubt it. They're going to doubt it significantly. I don't. I completely trust that team. I know they'll show it when they're ready to show it, but at the end of the day, they need to show combat gameplay for everybody, just to shut them up, I think, for me personally, I don't mind waiting a bit longer, but I think as the masses would rather see how that game looks to play as opposed to what the audio visual fidelity looks like now, because they kind of look and they know what the audio and fidelity looks like, but they just want to see how it plays, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Standout store for Xbox for me, absolutely Clockwork Revolution.
100%.
That game looks phenomenal. And what I liked about a lot of these trailers that they put out, specifically for South of Midnight and Clockwork, is the soundtracks to these trailers were absolutely on point. So South of Midnight, that Deep South kind of sound it just works absolutely beautifully for that. And it was weird that we got two giants back to back, but you know, I loved the audio visual treat that we got from that in-engine trailer. It was good to see the devs come out afterwards and say that's the artistic style and we're going to have as in-game kind of the in-game visuals. So that's what it should look like. That's what we're aiming for. So that kind of ceramic-y look that we saw from it there, and the stop motion look looks like what they're kind of aiming to achieve from South of Midnight. So really interested in it. It was really good to hear that was a third-person action adventure game. So I'm intrigued to see more of that. But Clockwork Revolution. Yeah. Clockwork Revolution, though, that just screamed BioShock to me immediately.
Yeah, 100%.
As soon as it come on screen, I was like, that is BioShock. But then it twisted it up with a little bit of kind of time travel. Like, oh, you can go and change the past, which will affect the future. Or if you affect the future, it might disrupt the past, and things change. And I was like, this looks really far along, like super far along. It looked absolutely awesome. I just loved the style. To be fair, I love steampunk in general, but I just loved the vibe that game was giving off. And it looks like it's closer than it is. The fact that Phil Spencer's played it a year ago kind of dictates as well that it's actually further along than we think. But they're still reluctant to put a date on it, and that's fair. From what I've seen, that looks awesome. That's actual gameplay as well. So we saw physical, actual gameplay, gunplay, walking around, things like that. So you can see what the game's going to look like. Get a good feel of what the game is about. So that was a good showing, really good showing. The best showing, I think, in terms of gameplay on the showcase, to be honest. We can't leave out Avowed because that's second to me as well. I think people that were like, again, another one looking at the original in-engine or CGI trailer that was showed off for Avowed, and then they seen this, they were like, oh, that looks nothing the same. The first one looked dark and gritty. This one's like ultra beautiful and popping with colors and stuff like that. And I was, but it looks awesome. Immediately I just wanted to play Skyrim again. Like as soon as that trailer come on for Avowed, I just thought I want to play Skyrim. Like it looks absolutely awesome. Really beautiful game. And that one looks really close. That one looks super close to being finished. Avowed looks like it's almost done, to be honest. If I was to pick out of Hellblade and Avowed which one's coming first next year, I would say Avowed's coming in the first quarter and Hellblade's coming in the third quarter. I think Hellblade might be a smidge further out. I think Towerborn or something like that?
Towerborn, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Towerborn's going to be the middle gamer, so I think we're going to have Avowed first, Towerborn, then Hellblade, and then we're going to have a fourth. They've already clarified Flight Sim isn't in one of those as the fourth because Flight Sim's a new game. It is a new iteration of Flight Sim. It's not an update. They've already clarified they're not counting Flight Sim as a fourth game next year. So there is one more in the pipeline that we aren't aware of as yet. That's going to be dropping alongside Avowed, Towerborn, and Hellblade. So, yeah. Overall,
guess,
yeah.
What's that other one, Dutch?
Oof. That's the question.
That's the question.
Is the question.
It is. It depends because having seen Clockwork, that looks really far along.
That does look really done. Like honestly, it looks like if that. I mean, again, we don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the way the trailer was done, it looked like the game could be played tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know how long they've been working on that game. Right? From what we understand, it's a couple of years.
Yeah.
But big AAA games, you heard Matt Booty say that gamers, podcasters, gaming media have to understand that the game development now isn't 2 and 3 years. It's 4 and 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Or longer.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a look at Hellblade, it's a decade.
yeah.
And then, of course, speaking of Hellblade, we get on to the penultimate because, my God, now I was looking forward to Hellblade before we got this deep dive, but that deep dive made me get the premium edition and the controller. Like, I was so hyped about that game when we finished watching that deep dive of Starfield. Like, that game looks absolutely phenomenal. I am going to lose so much of my life in that game,
Dude, it's a life stealing game. I again, folks, this is just our opinions. If you have a different one, by all means, throw. We got 600 people here. Throw your opinion into the live chat so we maybe get a chance to check it out. Dutch, we're on to Starfield, and there's a lot of controversy behind the 30 frames.
Yes.
I don't know where you're at. I know that your partner Boxenberger over on the World of Gaming is he thinks that it's an excuse. He's not with it. He says this should be 60 frames. I disagree, but he's also an engineer. I'm not, so I don't really know. I'm just saying that from what was depicted in this 45-minute deep, I mean like a deep dive.
Yeah.
There are so many systems on top of each other. I don't know if it would run as they wanted to run at 60 frames versus the lock 30 and at 4K, making it more cinematic. Now, again, I'm not a technician, folks. I'm only saying what I think I know, but
here's my thinking, Boom. And this is, I was on, again, the show with Asante yesterday with Boxy, and I come to a conclusion at the end that makes, to me, a bit more sense about it as well. So the game runs at a locked 30. Okay. They've said on Series X specifically, it runs above that quite a lot of the time.
He said Todd Howard said it had a lot of headroom.
Yeah. Yeah. So it hits 60 every now and again. But, and there is a but, it isn't a consistent 60. Now, when you're this close to launch, are you going, especially with the gaming media the way it is, are you going to risk dropping that game with 30 frames mode fidelity and a 60 frames mode, but it's terrible?
Right. Yeah.
Not running properly. It's got stutters, problems. It looks smudgy because I've had to drop the fidelity down to make it work at 60. So it doesn't run great. It doesn't look great. And that 60 mode is more just there to be slated by the gaming press, which they would. They'd get lambasted if they released a performance mode that was terrible. Are you going to risk putting that in if there's loads more work to do? Or are you just going to release it with fidelity mode locked 30 and to ensure that your game is reviewed for the way it should be viewed, and that is on the game itself as a finished product, and then later on be able to work on the 60 in the background and then add it as an update for console gamers in a future patch, future update, whatever it might be. I don't think they'd want to risk the absolute kickback from the press, considering how much of a big deal this game is for both Microsoft and Bethesda. I don't think they'd want to risk that kickback by releasing what would be a very locked 30 frames in a really good fidelity mode, but having a performance mode that is never hitting a consistent level. And as it stands from what we've heard, Series X has headroom, but it doesn't stay at a consistent 60 even when it does. So there's work to be done there. Even if they were going to do that, yes, they could drop the resolution down to get more performance out of it, but again, then there's drawbacks there as well to what kind of the vision is and
Hey,
how
Dutch,
good the game
they're
looks.
saying that your mic is popping.
Ooh, weird.
Yeah.
I'll just save that 2 seconds. See if this
no.
helps.
You know, while you sort that out, I want to bring up something. Now, I pulled a story from gamerrant.com regarding one of the God of War developers commented, actually defends Starfield's 30 frames per second choice, and why the developer did that is because, well, folks, if you thought that we weren't living in fable land where trolls weren't real, well, I can point you out one. Dreamcast guy, biggest turd nugget on podcasting, if you will. And I don't like to talk about anybody else, but that guy, he sells lies. That's what he does. And he put out a video saying some really bad things about Starfield, and like a coward, he took it down. He deleted it, of course, because that's what cowards do, right? So I do have the tweet in front of me. Danny Carlone. It's at Corgi Bolts on Twitter if you want to follow him. He has worked on, obviously, God of War. This is what he had to say directly to Dreamcast guy. Game dev here, big fan, by the way, wanted to clarify it's not a sign of an unfinished game. It's a choice. 60 frames on this scale would be a large hit to the visual fidelity. My guess is they want to go for a seamless look and less pop-in. And of course, you're right to dislike the choice. And like I said, I'm not going to speak too much about Dreamcast guy because the guy knows he knows what he does. He knows what he sells. He's a snake oil salesman, and all he does for his channel is try to dump on Xbox. And he was called out, in my opinion, by a developer that actually makes games. Now, again, if you are upset about the 30 frames versus the 60, you have every right to be as a fan. I personally think that if Todd Howard, who has told the world this is a game that has been in his mind for over 2.5 decades, that he has now the technology to bring to fruition, wants to tell his story on his game at 30 frames per second, locked at 30 in 4K. After what we saw, I'm okay with it. I'm all in the bag. I got the headphones, I got the controller, I got the collector's edition. Hell, if there was a console, I would have bought that too.
I'm surprised I haven't. I'm really surprised I haven't.
I just don't understand it. But Dutch, let's get you back in on this.
Yeah.
What again? Like you're going to hear from Casanti momentarily. He's like he has some good ideas as why he doesn't like this. I heard Boxenberger's, and Boxenberger, who is an engineer, he's every right to his opinion. For me personally, if Todd Howard is telling me this is what he wants to do to tell this story, and that we're going to get the best version of his story being told at 30 frames 4K, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for me anyway, and I've said this multiple times, and this was including when we had the Redfall 60 frames debacle, and I was one of the ones that said Redfall needs to be at 60, but this is where I always stand in the same place, and this is where my consistency of message never differs. For me, personally, unless it's a competitive game, so if it's a fighting game like Street Fighter, or if it's Forza, which is on screen now, or Forza Horizon 5, or whether or not it's a shooter, like an FPS, like a Call of Duty or something like that, those competitive games where you need quicker reactions, nothing less than 60 for me on those. Those have to be 60 frames. You need them for the speediness of the reaction and the smoothness, and everything feels a little bit better when you do that. And you definitely have a bit of especially when it's competitive, definitely have a bigger advantage when you're running a higher frame rate over your competitor, which is on a lower frame rate. So when it's single player, there is no multiplayer involved within it. When it's a big open world RPG, when it's a game you can just sit back and relax on, like any of those single player adventure narrative games, like this huge open world 1,000 planet monster where it's just exploration, space travel, occasional shooting, but not too much. Like, it depends on how you do your style of gameplay. Everyone could be a bit different. For me, I don't care about 60 frames on big open world adventure games or single player games for that matter. I'm always going to choose, specifically for the single player stuff, fidelity mode. I'm always going to choose to make that game look the best it could possibly look.
I agree.
And deep into immersion. For the shooters, etc. Yeah, absolutely need 60 frames.
100%.
For
Minimum
instance,
60.
Yeah, exactly. On this one for Starfield, the one thing I love is that we do get a choice on first or third person, and for me, I'm going to mix it up. So when I'm exploring, I'm going to be third person. When I'm going in the combat sections, I'm going to be first person, and I can switch it around. But yeah, for me, for the big open worlds and things like that, I don't care. I'm going to go full fidelity. I want to see this game shine in all of its gorgeous fidelity, yeah, and the 60 frame, for those who really want 60 frames at the moment, that's PC. That's, I know where Asante is going to be playing it. I know that's where Boxy is going to be playing it, and more power to them. But I would definitely say, as much as everyone keeps looking at the recommended specs and thinking their PC can handle it, do not think that your PC can handle it at equivalent fidelity settings for 60 frames as you will do on console. It's not going to happen.
Hey, Dutch, I was just telling Kay earlier, if you want 4K 60, you might be able to get it on that ROG Ally. Turn down the settings, put it on a nice
like
720p.
ultra low settings.
Hey man, I'm just saying, plug
But
that
even
into
on-
the
even
OLED,
on-
there you go.
I was going to say, even on PC, I mean, you can turn that. The great thing about PC is you can't turn down the resolution. You can have everything full ultra, but only on 1080p. Fine. The vast majority of PC players play at 1080 anyway. Not many of them play anything any above that. A lot of them use DLSS or FSR to get their upscaling. So they're going to get more headroom on that front anyway. But you're not going to just be able to run it on any old computer. You're going to have a pretty decent rig to get Starfield running in anything that's close to the fidelity of console at 60 frames.
Speaking of
Not going to be straightforward.
when you have like an OLED, like an LG CX or C2, C1, whatever, C3, I think they're up to. You know how it kind of gives you the impression of the frames being smoothed out? What is that called? So
Isn't that just called frame smoothing? I think they've all got different ones. Isn't it like cinematic mode or something ridiculous?
No, it's like VRR or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's VRR on. That's right. Yeah, VRR is one of them. FreeSync, G-Sync.
Yeah, I think the monitors are like FreeSync, but that it's basically the same thing. They just call it VRR.
Yeah, variable refresh rate. Yeah, but that's only when you've got an unlocked frame rate, or if there's frame dips.
Okay. No, because I was just saying like that was smoothed out. And to your point, like this, there is like high action combat here, so the 60 frames would be great. That being said, Redfall, my issue was always that the 30 FPS on it was actually smooth, but that was the least of the game's problems. And I think people would have forgiven it if it was something even half as expansive or fully realized as what it looks like Starfield is. So that was the real issue why it didn't get to pass.
There's some things you can do to kind of make it feel faster than it is. So, for instance, one of the benefits that you had on Redfall was that it did come with the option for field of view. And, of course, widening the field of view naturally makes the game feel a bit quicker anyway, when it isn't. Maybe Starfield has that option as well on console where you can change the field of view. We haven't seen the settings of the game yet, so we don't know what kind of the in-depth settings are. We don't know what the disability settings and things like that are on the game as well. To assist, like all the assistance things are. So it'd be nice to see what those are. They need to kind of divulge what those assistance settings are as well for the disabled gamers.
I will. Well, actually, you on one thing though, Everborn Saga. When it comes to VRR, the game needs to be hitting at least 40 plus frames before it matters. 30 frames, VRR doesn't kick in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it could have additional, like I say, it could have additional options. If they've got a field of view slider, especially for that first person view, it's going to make it feel a bit smoother and quicker anyway on that front. But I am fine personally on 30 frames on console. I'll be playing it on Fidelity. I do have a computer capable of running this at 60 with pretty high settings on on PC. So I could run it there and I could play it at 60, but I'd rather just kick back, relax, and enjoy this from the comfort of my sofa and not on a computer desk, personally.
Kay Asante.
Well, listen.
I love how you guys are literally like just pushing me in this PCMR corner right here with all of this.
I think you're PCMR. I think that
suspect
I'm creating your overlays. Remember this.
I know. I suspect you what you will find is that my take will be different than what you suspect. But okay, let's get into it.
No. Well, you know what, Kate? Let's bring you in on the conversation. But before I do got to catch up on the super chats. My God, there's been so many of them. Honestly, folks, I can't thank you enough for the generosity, and of course, we're gonna turn that generosity around again towards the end of the year. We have some really big giveaways. We're doing the $1,000 giveaway in December, and we're doing a $500 giveaway times 2. We're doing one in September, one in November for Mr. and Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. Our birthday, you folks get the prizes, and that's what we do with these super chats, right? We do reinvest into the channel with artwork and overlays and equipment, but we also give a significant amount of it back to you folks because listen, that's what this channel was built on, a community first mentality. And again, I just want to just add to the conversation because some people don't do this, but we do this here. If you are an international viewer and you win one of the prizes, because what we do is we drop all the names into the picker picks the winner. If you are outside the United States, we will give you that prize. We will, as long as we will only use PayPal, no cash apps. But if you win a prize, let's say for instance you win a $100 gift card, we will, instead of sending you the gift card because we can't send it to you, we will give you the money and we will send that via PayPal and we pay everything, the transfer fee, and if there's a difference in, like for instance, American dollars to pounds, we pay that. You pay nothing. If you won, you won. So if you're an international viewer and you support the channel and you win, we will, of course, get you that prize. First of all, hey, man, Harky Chani, what's going on, brother? We didn't think we were going to have you here today. How you doing?
All right. Yeah, a little issue at work.
Listen, we're happy to have you here, brother. We're talking about the showcase, which you were at in person.
Oh, my God.
And we will get to that because you had, come on, one of the best smiles there. I saw all the pictures. I saw the elbows that you were rubbing. But we'll get to you in a hot second because we're going to talk about, obviously, the showcase, your opinion, obviously some of the trolls and of the trying to bring everyone's excitement in Xbox land down. And of course, on the back end of the show, Hargeet, we're talking about what's going on with the FTC, and it doesn't really look good for Lina Khan. As a matter of fact, this could not have been a better deal or a better situation to happen for Microsoft and Activision because we could see a result in the next couple of weeks. But let me catch up to the super chats before we get into Kay Asante's hot takes. And the first one of the day comes from our very good brother, Gerald Mack. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, boom, I'm not going to get upset with the negative Nancy's because everyone's expresses pain differently, and those guys are hurting bad. I love it. Gotham guy, what's going on, dude? Long time, no time. He drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, good evening, Boom. Didn't get a chance to chime in yesterday, but it was a great to have you back, my friend. Mondays just isn't right without you on the airways. Glad you're feeling better, brother. Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words and, of course, the generosity. We also have Fantis Archer drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, is it possible that gameplay is getting held back right now from Hellblade and Fable, if it might have taken some shine from Starfield at this time. I mean, I've heard that theory, but we did get gameplay from Fable. We saw, as a matter of fact, we saw Shinobi 602. He actually did a video that he put out on Twitter of just the gameplay, not the cinematics, and there was a lot of gameplay there. I don't know. That's an interesting take. I'm not exactly sure. Stuffed Sean, I love this dude. He drops a very generous £2 super chat, and he asks a very simple question, guys. Why aren't you talking about Starfield's force powers? I think that's going to be a surprise. They kind of just teased us a bit. It looks like it's going to be like the Dragon Shouts potentially, just with like space magic. I can't wait. Kenta Wilson. Kenta, what's going on, brother? He drops a very generous $7 super chat. Says Starfield may be the game of the generation. I think it is. I think you are onto something for sure. Hitman drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, what Xbox IP do you guys think People Can Fly is working on? I'll put it to this way. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. I'm sitting down with someone that is making his debut appearance on Double Barrel Gaming on XVlog Live tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He has an amazing podcast, and you know why it's even more amazing? It's the most unique thing I've ever seen, folks. He podcasts with his wife and his kids. It is phenomenal. And you know who is this person? His name is C Money, Mario Kart Madman. He's C Money Forever on Twitter. He's going to be making his debut tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about that exact point, brother. So thank you so much for that. I don't know what they're working on, but I mean, for me, I love People Can Fly. I know a lot of people, you know, kind of equate them with the Gears game that no one really liked. I really, really liked Gears Judgment, but maybe I'm in the minority. Bunty drops a very generous holy matrimony, a $20 super chat, and says all the games that comes out with 60 nowadays that has a lot of action and cutscenes come with problems, but no. They give us 60 as an option, and we complain. Forgive me. So give me a game with no problems, no matter the frames. I mean, look, I pulled up a story, folks. You're talking about frames. Final Fantasy 16, right? It's not Sony first party. At least some people count it as first party in the community, and that's fine. It is an exclusive to the box at launch. And according to the report here that I pulled from this website, what the hell's the name of this website? I don't even know what it's called, to be honest with you. Mary Station? I've never even heard of them. Final Fantasy 16 does not run at native 4K and struggles to reach 60 frames. And there you go, right? Big AAA game, single-player game, struggling to hit 60. The frames are dropping left, right, and center. That's what's being reported. So there you go.
Yep. I mean, not speaking on it just as much. They're all focused on stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But we have.
They wouldn't be worried about Starfield on the eve of Final Fantasy coming out. But
well, you know what? Here's something I keep seeing that's going around. And shout out to Sean Labrie that started this. He actually did a poll, which I thought was really, really ingenious. And he asked, how are you going to play Starfield? In first person, which I'm not. I'm playing in third person, which was choice B. And you know what the third choice was in complete genius? People are going to be playing it on YouTube, watching it on the PlayStation 5s. That's how they're going to be playing it. And I thought that was just scandalous. But you know, we're talking about frames. And again, I'm only talking about what the community had to say. And I thought a lot of it was, you know, a nice pushback because in the whole frames thing. You know how many frames Starfield's going to be on the PlayStation 5? 0, because they don't have the game. So take it for what it's worth. And I saw that out there as well. And I don't want to shout out anyone particular because there were a lot of people running with it, but I thought it was hilarious. Dan Lazaro drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, imagine telling Bob Ross one of his little trees wasn't happy enough. Let the artist do what he wants. Todd says 30 frames is his vision. Let the man cook. I mean, listen, I'm right there with you. I'm not going to argue. And I like the happy trees thing. You must be as old as I am, brother. Cald Weeb drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says, I just played Jedi Survivor on 4K 30 with an LG C1. Oh, that's a nice TV, dude. On Xbox, you also get black frame insertion and frame doubling. It felt good. I almost forgot it was at 30 frames per second. So I guess when it's done right, you don't even care. That's a great point. We also have Zodiac version 3 or V3. Zodiac, welcome to the program, brother. He drops $2 super chat and says Starfield will run at 4K 60 on his 4090. I mean, listen, dude, if you can afford a 4090, that means you got a monster rig. Good on you, dude. Sith Lord, just a very generous $2 super chat, says hats off to Dutch, the hardest working man this week. Yeah, folks. I actually told him in DMs, like, listen, dude, if you got to take off tonight, brother, get some rest. And he's like, nah, I got one more in me. He's a podcast marathon man. So, Kay Asante, let's get your hot take. The show, obviously, we're going to talk about Fable. You have some things that you want to kind of get off your chest, but specifically with the Starfield situation, I'm interested because you started to tell us, but then the show started. I want to get your hot take.
Okay. So let's get. We'll talk about the show. We'll talk about all that, but let's just get the 30 frames thing out of the way first. Okay.
Get it out of the way.
I have no problem with this game being 30 frames per second. I don't think it's an issue that it's 30 frames per second. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Right. Those who have watched my show or have heard me talk about this point, hear me make this analogy pretty frequently. We sacrifice fidelity for convenience all the time. All the time. In the world of streaming movies and TV shows and whatnot, you forget how 4K used to look because you're just used to what Netflix's 4K is. You're used to what YouTube's 4K is. Trust me, grab a Blu-ray disc. 4K is way better. You just forget because you're used to the convenience of it. And even
you're talking about like when we watch it on Netflix or something.
Yeah, versus popping in the disc, right?
Right.
And even when you pop it in the disc and you go, yeah, this is so much better. The convenience outweighs having to go get the disc and So you
Bend
make
down,
that decision.
put it in.
You know, you make that decision, right?
Such horribleness, such first world problems. I had to pick up my disc and put it in the player.
You know what I mean? Exactly. You make concessions all the time for convenience, right? So the fact that they're trying to keep this at 30 frames because, hey, that's what this game demands, right? They instead they saw the resources. It doesn't mean that that all of a sudden the console's a potato because PC people know Star Citizen's out there and it will buckle any machine alive. Give me a $20 million machine, it'll buckle it to its knees because that's Star Citizen and it'll never get finished and never get made. That's just the way it is. Right, so
you could do crazy things in Minecraft that'll buckle your PC.
Exactly. Yes. Turn up them chunks. Eventually, the game looks super realistic, and it'll buckle your 4090 to 10 frames per second. Yes, it's not about it has to be 60 or it's crap. No, they have the resources. They choose to allocate how they choose to allocate. I have no issues that this game is being offered in 30 frames per second. Okay. Here's where my issue lies. And my issue might be different than others. I don't know. You tell me, okay? FromSoft is out there. They make very hard games. Super hard games, in fact. To the point where people go, come on, guys. You could put in, not even for the man babies who can't finish the game. No. How about accessibility features for those who want to get into your game but can't get there? And then, what do they say? We're sorry. This is our creative vision. This is our creative choice. Right? And how long have you heard people fighting against them on that? Forever. But still, to this very day, whenever you get a FromSoft game, it is hard as hell, and that's the way they come. Right?
Yeah.
By the very nature of Starfield being offered at 60 on PC, and you and I both know that eventually, it may not be this year, it may be this year, who knows? It may be next year, eventually. Not only will there be an unofficial patch, but there'll also be an official patch to 60. Stop saying it's a creative decision. That's snake oil. That's my problem. Because you're eventually going to get it to 60. It's a technical limitation right now. We hear you. It's cool. But calling it a creative choice kind of gives me a little bit of agita, because FromSoft is a creative choice. That's what that is. And you will never find another version of that game anywhere besides the vision that they choose to present. And the very fact that eventually you'll be able to play Starfield at 60 on console when they're able to make it there tells you it was a technical limitation that they could not get over in the short term. So they're giving it to you at 60, they're giving it to you at 30, and they'll eventually get you there, right? So, but to call it a creative choice is a little bit disingenuous. A little. That's my only problem.
I need to push back a little bit.
I don't know if that's true, Asante, but
please, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. I'm here for the smoke. Let's go.
Well, I mean, you know what the smoke is because we've had this conversation,
of course,
privately, right? I while I get what you're saying and I agree that it is a technical issue, they very well could have just dropped the
Sure.
Final Fantasy,
of course,
right?
of course.
But creatively,
yes.
they err on the side of
and that's where that part is where I can give it to them. Yes, their creative choice was either we drop the frames, so we drop the resolution so it looks fuzzy, right? And even that might not help you because, of course, we're talking about a very CPU heavy game that has a lot of systems on its back. So even dropping the resolution may or may not get you to your 60 frames that you're looking for.
Exactly.
I'm not talking about, unlike others, I'm not saying, just drop the resolution and call it a day. I get that it's complicated, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it's that easy. I'm saying by the very nature that it is being spoken about and shown off as a technical limitation that may one day be traversed, that very nature is why I'm saying stop calling it a creative choice. Because it's not.
But creatively,
but it kind of is.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Creatively, you're gonna say, as the creator, as the director of this thing, I want the smoothest experience, and this is the time that I have to deliver. Needless
to say, I feel like continuing down the path of the 30 frames talk, all it does is it creates this them versus us kind of mentality, right? And it doesn't seem to move the ball forward. So like I have no issue with it. But for the record, I don't feel like
you got a 4090.
Exactly.
Asante. We're going to be playing it.
But this is no. See, Everborn Saga makes my point for me. I don't expect there to be crystal clear 4K when I watch Netflix. I expect concessions. Right? If I put on a Netflix movie, I expect fake 4K. And I get fake 4K, and I'm cool with that because I'm watching Netflix. If I don't want that, I know where the Blu-ray disc is. That's simple. That's why I have no issues with this being 30 frames per second. If I don't want that, I know what to do, and I've made that choice. That's it.
I think it's more than that, though.
Poor people can't have 60 FPS.
No. But let's be clear. Why I'm okay with people being upset with this is at the end of the day, marketers did not talk well with the engineers when they went and did what they did here. Because yes, they give you this amazing ability to do so much with this hardware. If they choose to use 30 frames per second, that's a choice that they choose to make, because obviously you could either drop it down, limit it a little bit as far as its capabilities, and then you'll be able to run it twice the speed, 60 frames. But they chose not to do that. I get all that.
Starfield as being 60 in the first place.
Well, no. That's not where I'm going. I'm going by the very nature of the sole marketing in this brand has always been the craziest, fastest console ever, and they haven't been able to get that message out of the most powerful. Yes, please forgive me. But because that is their marketing, this stuff tends to dog them all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, even though it shouldn't necessarily dog them, because I don't think it's fair.
They're not the only ones, though. I mean, there are many games releasing that are 30 frames, 4K, that are big time games, and that when you consider the scale and the scope of Starfield, aren't even a tenth of it.
Here's the thing: we can say they haven't shown us anything, but we just went through a whole controversy where, despite developers telling them and people looking at things, they believe that live gameplay is CGI. So I think we can say that the power is there on the console.
Oh yeah,
Right?
of course.
If you look
yes.
at Hellblade,
See,
if you
but
look
see,
at,
I will tell
Fable,
you that like, and I have no reason to believe so, right? I have no background information, but I believe in my bones that if Starfield was incubated under Microsoft, the Series S would be hitting 60 frames right now. If they had started making that game under Microsoft,
Todd's been playing at Series S.
yeah, no, but that's my point. Like they built it. Remember, what did they say? They said they got in, and this is talking, of course, about the Phil Spencer interview. They say they got in, and they said they helped this one along, whereas Redfall wasn't. They got in a year and a half ago. It doesn't take a year and a half to make a Starfield. It takes many years to make a Starfield. Phil Spencer said it took him a year and a half ago is when they got to it, and that's the good one. Whereas Redfall didn't get that much time, and as such, it suffered for it. I'm not saying that the game will be bad. Let me be clear. I am super excited for this game, but again, had they started, I see you there. I see you there, Dutch. Had they started incubating this thing with that hardware in mind, I suspect there would have been more options to get it to run at a smoother fidelity. But that's neither here nor there. If you really care about this thing running at 60, you know what to do. And if it really pains you that it doesn't run at 60 on your console, give it time. This is a very cyclical thing. Everything that's old is new. This is exactly the same thing that happened with Skyrim. And not long after, there was an unofficial 60 frames patch. And then a little while after that, there was an official 60 frames patch.
A little while.
Couldn't do it when
a little while. A little while.
I'm being a little generous with my little while. I'm being a little generous with my little while.
Go
ahead, Sharky.
No, they actually did a lot here. Look, I'm with you on the they really should have done 60. However, I'm trying to be fair to what they wanted to do. It wasn't just about graphics. It was about being able to see where you want to see, just to be able to see far in the distance. That takes some horsepower, and they want to have systems that are active, right? To be able to do all the various things that they do a lot of things. They do so many goddamn things, right? To do all that just takes CPU cycles, and to take away, to be able to get enough CPU horsepower to say I'm going to make my frames shorter and shorter in time just wasn't something they could do very effectively. Maybe it's possible that they could have done that with more time, but I don't know. They already spent several years.
So Hargi, are you saying that there's a world where are you saying that there's a world where Skyrim? See what I just did there? Where Starfield stays 30 frames on Series X forever, indefinitely.
What I think is going to happen,
I find that hard to believe.
Some modder will figure out how to uncap, right? And you'll get.
Well, no. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Officially, 60. I mean officially. I mean from Bethesda. You're saying that it'll always be 30 forever.
There in the next gen. I think in the next gen they'll say we'll give you a 60 or 120 or whatever the next box.
Maybe mid fresh console mid fresh. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope not.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. No, I see your point on that because they technically did do that the last time as well. They waited till the next gen console before they gave you a 60 frames. But again, even that tells me it's not a creative decision, because if it was a creative decision, you'd be happy with 30 and you'd leave it there forever. You just leave it there because that's your decision you've made.
I think that
there's no need to upgrade it.
And
then they'd leave it there.
There would be an upgrade like they said for Redfall.
They have not.
You don't know.
They have not said
move it to 30 FPS.
I would also say though. I was going to say. I would also say just because it's his creative decision doesn't mean that everybody wants to do that. So he might oblige by providing a 60 FPS patch, but it doesn't mean he wants it to run in 60 FPS.
Dude, it's Todd Howard.
Exactly. I don't know about Todd obliging anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he did.
They
didn't have to oblige by giving the 60 frames, official 60 frames to Skyrim, but they did.
Exactly.
Well, but that's because they could, right? Because the console changed and they had more power
available. No, because they could sell a brand new game. They could sell Skyrim again. That's why.
I mean, yeah.
Sure.
But at that point, there was enough power to make that game work, right? But I'll just tell you a little story. So we're out all of us are out in LA, and we're all talking to everybody, all the Microsoft people, and Todd Howard walks by, and all the guys are freaking deathly afraid of trying to talk to Todd That's what Todd Howard is. I mean, there's no way. Like Microsoft's going to let him do whatever he wants. I just don't see them going to Todd.
I think
Howard
the
and telling
only
him
person that's able to influence Todd Howard is Phil Spencer.
I don't
he's
even
the
think
only
that's
person.
going to happen. Phil's going to be like, "Yep, Todd, do what you want."
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look,
Though we found out they were going to release this thing on 11/11.
Yes, exactly. That's why I say the only
Phil
person that can influence
said,
Todd is
"You know
Phil.
what? We're good.
Yeah.
Take your time, bro. Just take
That's
your
exactly why I say that, because Phil was the only one that slowed him down from releasing it on 11/11, right? Yes, but let's move forward from the whole 30 frames talk, because I do want to like, just in general say, while the dust has settled on my thoughts, I've gotten a chance to watch it in 4K now, I also like Dutch. I don't like how they showed off what do you call it, Senua Saga. I don't like how they showed that off. We are at a point where we need to see more, right? I don't think they did it on purpose, but I feel like although they technically showed us lot of gameplay, which they did, you need to say technically, and that's just unfortunate. Right? Because like, you could be unabashed in your showing of the game, really just showing of the game. And we know you can do it because you did it with Starfield, right? But then the others, you go, see, blink and you missed it, but it's there. We've adhered to the requirement, right? It looks great. Fable looks great. There's I will say, if you're interested in more Fable background, there are a lot of the artists and a lot of the what do you call it, the asset creators and the 3D modelers are now on YouTube talking about their pieces of the puzzle that they've made on Fable. A lot of very interesting
I saw a lot of that. So it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, super cool. So like, I watched a modeler who literally, because in the Fable trailer, there's a part where there's like a wheelbarrow that's just being pushed down the street by some dude. I
saw that same video. It's like
you saw that video?
Hired out of college, right?
And she spent like 20 minutes just regaling us with conversations of how that wheelbarrow made her feel, because that was her job, to get that wheelbarrow to be great. You know what I mean? So it's just really cool that it's there, and it counteracts that ridiculous narrative that it's just a CGI trailer. Yeah, it looks as good as CGI, but clearly it's a game, right? And there's clearly gameplay elements there and all that. So it's really, really cool that they got to show that off. I'm with Dutch on the fact that I think it's really awesome that they're showing things off that seem to be closer than you thought. It's mind-blowing, like seriously mind-blowing to me that Clockwork Revolution video we saw, that is assets from a year ago that Phil Spencer was playing. So what you saw is actually even outdated. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are way further along.
Yeah, I was going to say everything in this showcase anyway is 6 months old.
Yeah. They are way further along than even what they showed you. You know what I mean? And they're just first announcing the game now, and it's literally playable. He's playing it. He said so. He's playing it fully playable. And they're just showing you a little bit of a snippet of it now, right? Same thing with what do you call it? South of Midnight, playable. Just showing you snippets of it, right? I wish they were a bit more bolder in showing you what they have, since they are all so playable, right? That kind of makes me go, come on, guys. If you have so much, then show us the goods. But I'm very happy that they're at least showing what they are showing, counteracting some of those narratives that, oh, these guys just don't know what they're doing, right?
I just want to see what I do like as well, and something that Matt Booty said in the Giant Bomb interview, just to add to that point as well, with regards what they showed. Yeah. I like how he emphasized that their remit is to the developers. Listen, we don't want you to build something new to show off. Yep. What we want you to do is take what you've got already and make a trailer out of it.
Yeah, so don't waste your time for us.
Don't waste your time. If you've got gameplay that is good and ready to use, and you can make a trailer out of that gameplay that you've got, that you've physically recorded, then do that. But don't make a brand new bunch of assets for this. That's a waste of time.
Yeah, and that's a great way to go about it, right?
Exactly, and what that means is what we saw is exactly how it is currently, or as last seen, and what is being used for the game itself. So it's a bit more of a good representation, knowing that they've not asked for these weird assets that you'll never ever see again, and mission scenes that will never exist.
Yep.
So very representative.
About Avowed and the go ahead.
So that also speaks to the fact that not only was it captured on here, these are in-game assets, right? These are things that you would use, right?
Yep.
And there is a Jack and the Beanstalk quest in the game.
Yep. You don't hire an actor to do this and then never see him again. He's in the game. Like, he's literally in the game.
Right.
He's not.
This is not a commercial.
Little actor either. He's not a little actor.
Yeah, he's not a little guy either. Exactly.
Oh, actually,
you don't pay him.
Jez Corden actually said he's like a national treasure in the UK.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen the IT Crowd. He's a great actor.
Yes, I heard that's a
fantastic.
fantastic. Jez said it's an amazing sitcom. Yeah.
It's a great show. Yeah, it's a great show. And you don't hire him to do a little ad there and CG him into the game. No, he is a featured actor, much like how Keanu is in Cyberpunk. I expect you will see where this leads. This is just a snippet of that, right? So I think it's great that they're peeling the onion back a little bit and showing us, that stuff, right? I think it's absolutely awesome. I want to talk a bit about Avowed because I feel like there was a little drama with Avowed, and I don't understand it. People think that they got the Watch Dogs moment with the first CG trailer versus what they saw today, and I completely disagree. I suspect that
CG, the other one's the actual game.
The other one's actually the game. That's right. And I suspect that if you go and play the game when it's released, there will be sections of that world that look as gritty as you saw in that trailer. They just happen to show you, colorful, nice, things that you probably wouldn't see in Skyrim under normal circumstances. And to me, that's a feature, not a bug. Why do you want to make a game that's like Skyrim when you have the company that makes Skyrim in the same stable? That's just derivative. That makes no sense. You want to add something new to the mix, not make exactly the same thing over and over and over again by different developers, right? So even if they were planning on making a Skyrim clone, by the very nature that they now sit across the street from Bethesda proper, that should tell them, let's do something different, because our brothers are literally the same, the Skyrim makers. Why would you want to compete with your same stable? It's just weird, right? Same thing as in what do you call it? Fallout to the Outer Worlds, for example, right? The Outer Worlds is Fallout, but pretty and colorful and very story driven, rather than the what do you call it? The melting pot and the crazy sandbox that Bethesda games tend to be, right? So let them make their games, but let them make it their way, and we should not hound them for not making Bethesda clones, because Bethesda exists, right? I think this is better than the trailer that I saw, because this is different than Skyrim. It's not Skyrim 2.0. It's something else, So I think that's great. Last thing I'll bring up before I pass the mic, the extended showcase. While I didn't necessarily love every piece of the puzzle, I think it was pretty good. I think it was pretty good. I like the host. I think that I said it in this green room, and I'll say it again. I think that Xbox as a brand needs to have fresh blood representing it. I love Major Nelson, but he's a gray beard like me. I love Paris Lily, but he's a gray beard like me. He's just good at hiding it because he shaves all of it off. He was there, and I appreciated him being there. It was very good, yes, and I hope they continue to go down the path with Paris and doing those kind of segments, and they keep bringing him back. I think that's awesome. I think he deserves it. He's great at what he does, and he needs to continue doing it. But having Tina host it, awesome. I thought it was good. Fresh blood, young, fresh face. She did a great job. The whole thing. It was great. I like the games they showed off. Freaking Cyberpunk looks amazing. Absolutely epic. And here's the place where you see the stuff you don't necessarily maybe want to see. You get your Fallout 76 extended looks. You get your trailers for this and that and other thing. Long story short, was this like the same caliber as the day before? Of course not. But you take the good with the bad. Well, not the day before. I'm sorry. As the previous. I was going to say,
the
proper showcase.
The imaginary game.
yeah. The proper showcase. The proper showcase. It was not as good as the proper, of course, but this is what we're used to from them, right? We're used to this kind of showcase generally from them. And even in this showcase, I loved Gamer Phil sitting on the couch playing some games with people. Thought that was great. I want to see more Gamer Phil sitting on the couch playing games with people.
He stole my nickname though, so I begrudge him there.
Well, yeah, you know.
Call
I think
themselves the
you're gonna have
Wandering
to. Yeah, you're gonna have to duke it out with Phil Spencer for that
I'll
one.
log
I
into
don't know about
Xbox
that one.
one day and my gamer tag will have disappeared. I'm like, what's going on here?
Taken by Phil Spencer as the wandering one. No, but no. Long story short, I really think this show was great. I think they deserve all the accolades they're getting. You know, I've seen some disingenuous reporting, all the headlines, all the games you didn't see at the showcase. You know, let's remind you of as much negativity as we possibly can.
Yeah.
None of that can stop the shine. This was a solid show, and everybody should be commending them for it because we want to see more like this. Last piece before I let it go. It's great that we saw it here. I want to see stuff at Gamescom. I want to see stuff at.
They
Tokyo
said they
Game
were going to
Show.
be there. They didn't specifically say what
They're
they were going to
always
show.
there, but when they're there just to show you the same old, same old. I want Gamescom to be the next E3. I want TGS to have value. You know what I mean? Like they need to spread out the message and put bangers, monster announcements in these other shows as well. Because E3's gone, baby. Whether we like it or not, E3's gone, and all these other places deserve as much attention as E3 used to get. I'm done.
Yeah, I was going to say just to add to that with the giant bomb thing, they did say, and this is the good thing as well for gamers in general. They said, don't worry too much if you haven't seen a game that you were expecting at this showcase because we have another 3 showcases this year, plus potentially an additional. So they mentioned Gamescom, TGS, the Game Awards, and then they said probably one more, and then Phil Spencer kind of made him shut up. So
maybe they've learned their lesson, and these shows are not just going to be them showing up and regurgitating what we've seen before. Yeah, this will be a new place. Good.
Well, what they've said kind of is the work that went into this showcase started 6 months ago, and he's already started talking about what they're doing on the next one already. So 6 months forward, or even several months forward, you're talking Gamescom, Game Awards, etc. So it's
maybe a direct of some sort in January.
Yeah, I would imagine the direct. Well, even I would imagine the direct kind of before the end of this year. We'll see.
We got Jeff Grubb in the chat,
and salute to the Grub man in the chat right there. We appreciate you, sir. Yes, good stuff.
I think by showcases, I think they mean more an Xbox Direct, a developer Direct, and I think if that's the case, then we'll potentially see more of a Avowed and Hellblade. Them being the ones
I just need there to be the same level of excitement that's put into E3 to be put in all these other showcases because to these other venues because Gamescom deserves it. It is now considered officially the biggest one.
Well, Jefferson,
I mean, it's definitely they get the most people out of any show.
Well, you saying something, Dutch?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, Jeff's in the chat, actually. I would ask if he can kind of look into the metaphor situation, if he doesn't mind, because
if there's anyone that could find out, it's definitely Jeff. Yeah.
Kind of looks like that's exclusive. It's showing all over their socials as only Xbox and PC. Obviously, people probably want to find out whether or not that is the case. It would be huge if Microsoft got that as an exclusive.
Ridiculous,
he says he'll check. Good stuff.
Thank you. Cheers, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. Yeah. Well, let's get Everborn Saga.
Yeah, Asante, I'll push back on one thing though. I don't
think
it's the end of E3 because what we had in LA was basically E3. Like all the things about doing game demos, they were all there. So it's just other people are doing them. So if you
it's just not called E3. It's just not called E3, but E3 is still there in spirit, is what you're saying.
It is. Keighley had several days of play days where you had games available for media and content creators, and there were several by other people. So like Ubisoft had one, IGN I think had something. There was like a whole bunch of them. And if you were invited to these things, you were busy the whole time, right? During the Fan Fest, if you were in media, they had several like ID at Xbox things. They had a whole Forza playable demo, right? There was all sorts of stuff available if you were in media or content creation. So those things were available. So it is basically a replacement for E3. So if people wanted to come, it actually was E3. Essentially, it was E3, except it wasn't as ridiculous as E3 because it would be like 15,000 people. It was a smaller amount, focused, and you could actually get to the demos without waiting for 3 hours.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was pretty good. And then all the people were there, right? So you got to meet everybody. You got to meet with the Xbox team. I met Jeff Keighley and all those. It was great. So E3 is still there. It's just different now.
It's just not
It's just
called
not
E3.
Understood.
E3.
Understood. No, that's good
Okay.
to know. That's good to know. Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Everyone,
I
let's
did
get
miss
your hot
Jeff.
take on the show.
But anyway,
Yeah. So my game of show was Fable.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the tone and of the humor in the game, right? And you know the OG Fable was kind of like fart jokes and things like that. But this, it's like it really captured sort of that dry British humor that like, and of course they got the guy from the IT crowd, so obviously it makes sense. But just the way he's doing it like it's a reality show and looking at the camera and then says excuse me for a second and then we're cutting back to you know the crowd reacting, because that was a thing in Fable, right? The NPCs react to you based on your actions or whatever. So you know you see whoever the character is kind of walking around and they're calling her a wanker and she's looking back like what the hell, throwing the beer on the ground. Like all of it was great, and I'm like this, and I know it is not a sort of a dark, dire, sad dad, whatever. But those aren't the only kind of good writing there is. And I loved, if this is the tone, I think they nailed it perfectly. And I'm eating, boom, when I tell you how many bookmarks that I have grabbed for all of these people that's like, there's no way that's gameplay.
Oh, just save the
This is how
receipts, dude.
beautiful the game looks. The writing feels amazing. I just feel like they nailed it at every level, from the visuals, from what looked like the gameplay. You know, when she was like throwing the fireball and things like that. They have the kicking chickens. The humor is just, it's just perfect. So for me, that was my game of show, and I know everybody's like super high on Clockwork Revolution, and it does look great. I'm also like really excited about.
But let's be clear: the man Everborn Saga has never played BioShock Infinite,
not Infinite. I played the first one only.
so that's why he may not have the reference point for this. So just say it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the expose.
Yeah. Oh, I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Exposed.
Of course. South of Midnight, the art style is so interesting, and again, that looked like it was all a cutscene, but if Aaron Greenberg is to be believed, it was not. So that it was in engine. So if that is what that game is going to look like, and that's from Compulsion, and that's what they were working on. It is just, I really looked at this show, and it was the first time where I felt, you know what? Even though I think they're gonna get ABK, they don't need them. Like what they showed alone was just so exciting. And by the way, South of Midnight is a hashtag COG just won third person action adventure game that is not an open world. It's a linear focus, so it's story driven.
Yes,
that's a COG just won, and it looks amazing. So also, I this is what I really the thought, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. I think we need to put some respect on Matt Booty's name, because this entire show was Matt Booty, right? Except for Starfield. If you liked South of Midnight, what you saw, if you liked what you saw in Fable, if you liked what you saw in Clockwork Revolution, if you liked what you saw in Hellblade, that is Matt Booty. So perhaps when we was all giving Matt Booty smoke, what he was doing was his job and providing cover for his studios so they could
I mean, I hear you, but let's let the booty close one first.
Okay.
Forgive me, I had to do that one. Close the booty.
Sure. Wow.
Forgive me. Forgive me.
Wow.
I had to. Forgive
Wow.
me. Forgive me.
Okay. But the point is, so what if this is his coming out party, right? Because it was heads down. We got to get this work done. Like put some respect on his name, and I think that's why.
So
he was out
Everborn,
there.
G Maybe says what you're saying is we need to clap for the booty.
Stop it. Stop it.
Oh wow.
Sick.
Here come the booty jokes.
Okay.
Here comes the booty jokes. Holy moly.
That was a good one. Come on, that was a really good one.
So the point is,
G Maybe, salute.
apart from Starfield, at the end, if you're loving the direction of Xbox Game Studios' first party, you need to respect Matt. That's all I'm gonna say is Matt B. Right?
Yes, sir.
And so there was a lot of fire. Stop it. You see OBM.
We see OBM in the chat.
But there's a lot of get rid of Matt Booty, or he doesn't know how to do his job, right?
True,
I mean,
true.
there wasn't enough love for the booty.
Oh God!
Oh
Here we
my
go.
But
goodness.
even
Now we've gone off the rails.
and
Even
I-
Hargeet Chani's getting in on it. I can't believe it.
and I listen to a lot, and I respect not Jeff Carr. What's his name? God of War guy, Jaffe, right?
Jaffe.
Jaffe, yeah.
But
Mhm.
Jaffe
Jaffe.
has been beating the drum. Phil doesn't know how to ship. Matt Booty's not doing his job. He was doing his job, and they all got hit by the pandemic, and that's why we lost time. And but they were cooking, they were working, and he did his job to give them the cover they needed. So let's let these games ship. But once these games ship, and we're gonna get 2 of them next year, we're
Yep.
gonna get Forza this year, right? 2024, 2025, that roadmap that we're talking about.
Monster.
Like-
Mind you, there's about 8 to 10 games that we didn't see.
Right. Towerborn also looked amazing, like Castle Crasher vibes. By the way, so you're showing Starfield right now. One thing I wanted to say, people asked about the force powers. I don't think it was force powers. I believe that it was the gravity being turned off, so you kind of sabotaged the ship.
I don't know.
And you were in your spacesuit, so
I
they
beg to
all
differ.
lift up through in the vacuum of space. So I don't think that it was. Well, I hope I'm wrong. I
That
hope
would
there are
affect
force
you
powers.
as well. But
Yes, it would affect you as well. You wouldn't just be
I
walking,
think
chilling while the
the
Maybe he
others.
has
Yeah.
magnet boots. You don't know. It could be a mod that you put on your suit.
I think this is realistic biotics, but let's just keep it moving. Let's go.
We'll see how that works. So and I'm coming to the Starfield stuff because I loved what I saw. I already know how I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna be a space pirate.
That's what
right?
my brother
I'm
said
not
the same. I
building-
talked to him today.
I
He's
am-
gonna be a pirate.
Right. I'm not building anything. I see your ship. I like it, and I'm taking it.
Taking
and
it.
by the way,
Nice.
that's one way that I'm going to play. The other way, I don't even want to use guns because you can build your arms up and just do melee attacks. I'm
Oh,
punching
you like
everybody,
that? You like beating down people?
right? I want to punch.
He's coming for your
dinosaurs
sandwiches,
in
ladies
this
and
game.
gentlemen. He's coming for your sandwiches.
I'm stealing sandwiches. You hide your sandwiches. Hide your spaceships. Everyone's coming for you.
I'm
Right.
gonna hide.
So-
I'm gonna steal all your spaceships and hide them in a spaceship.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
And I guess all this is to say, Everborn is saying he likes Matt Booty and he cannot lie. I'm sorry, forgive me. I had to do that last one. We're done. Let's move forward.
Like I just like this is the level that we always knew. All when they were buying all of the studios in 2018, when they announced all of those acquisitions, we knew what was coming. We knew what was coming with Game Pass. We knew what was coming with the cloud, but everyone was saying, I can't see it. It's not materializing. Now you're starting to see it take shape. And now everyone's taking notice. Now people can't believe what's gameplay. Now the media is like Xbox is doing things. They're doing CNN interviews. They're doing, right? Phil
Yeah.
was on CNN talking about these games that he showed off. So, like, I don't think people are going to be ready. And I can wax poetical about like how amazing this year is, just because, you know, the last 2 years were kind of constipated because of reasons, and now we're getting all these things now. But just like, think about the fact that you're going to get Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, and Starfield in the same year that you got Jedi Survivor, and you will get Spider-Man, and you got Hi-Fi Rush, and
Hogwarts.
and Hogwarts or whatever, Hogwarts.
Hey.
But the point is,
Hey, not
all
that
these
slander.
things,
He hates Hogwarts, ladies and gentlemen. He hates Hogwarts.
all these things are in the same year, and that's before we get to the fact that we already got Street Fighter, and we're on the cusp of
getting Mortal Kombat.
Tekken and
Well,
Mortal
Tekken's
Kombat
next
coming
year,
out.
I think. Right? I think Tekken's next year.
They
but
said
yeah,
it was this year. They haven't officially come to that, but that's
but
probably
Mortal
what it's gonna be.
Kombat looks like it could be. And Street Fighter 2 is like a 90, 92, something. And
Right.
Yeah, it's up there.
crazy.
It's crazy.
what
Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat
But what
looks
about
crazy.
Alan Wake? What about Alan Wake?
I mean,
And by
this
the way-
is a nutsoid year, dude.
By the way, forget
September
about
and
the
October, to take a look at the release lists, it's just bonkers.
But hold on. It's been so many games that we've already forgotten that Dead Space remake came out, and Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? This is wild.
Yeah. Zelda.
Right?
Yep.
And the fact that in a year like that, Xbox has a title that is standing out amongst that list of games is wild. And this
Yeah.
is what we always knew. And Forza is going to be October, and I think we're going to get something in December. Anyway, so like I loved what I saw at the show. I really like. I cannot express enough how Towerborn is like my kind of game.
Yeah, it's got a big Castle Crashers feel to it.
I love it, man. And then I don't know if this was at the Xbox show, but there's a big update coming to Shredder's Revenge.
Yes,
Right?
with Yoshimbi,
Yojimbo.
the rabbit. Yes,
Right.
yes.
And then you have the extended showcase. I know people saying they didn't like it, but I'm like, hold on a minute. They showed First Descendant, real gameplay, and a lot of people didn't know that was coming to Xbox. When they first announced that, I saw a lot of people saying this is a PlayStation exclusive, but that is coming. And then, is it just me, or did High on Life or High on Knife get a visual upgrade?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it looks visually superior. It does look really nice. Yeah.
And I know people want combat for Hellblade, and I do too. But to me, the trailer they showed, when she's crawling under that rock, I'm like, this is real life, right? That was something entirely different, and
Claustrophobia personified. That.
right. But when they did the deep dive, it really told me like this is a real art house project. Like this is, and I know if you play the first one, it was very kind of, it was very sort of artsy fartsy too, walking around and having those things. But like this felt like, you know what, this is the kind of attention to detail. This is the kind of real hardcore storytelling that you would see from a Naughty Dog, right? When we're talking about the motion capture and things that they were doing. So I don't know. It's just like this is another thing that I noticed, and I think the fourth game next year, by the way, is going to be Contraband. And who knows why they didn't show it, but Matt Booty said that there were things that they didn't show, and there's things that will come out next year that they won't show. And they announced that around the same time as all these other games, right? And I don't know. It's just like, it's just another thing that I noticed, and I think the fourth game is going to be Contraband. And I think the fourth game next year is going to be Contraband. And the thing to really kind of solidified this for me, Sony is taking a lot of heat right now for all the service games they're working on. But Xbox has always, been multiplayer first, right? And they've sort of figured that out, right? They own Minecraft. They have Sea of Thieves. They have Grounded, a small project that turned into this big multi-million user thing. They've got Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online and all that. They understand service games, and God forbid they get Activision in terms of having their service games. So that's a thing Sony's trying to figure out. But what Sony has always been good at is single player games. The problem now is Microsoft, the single player games aren't really like super sustainable, because unless it's a mega hit and you spend $200 million on it and it doesn't have a long tail in terms of revenue, it's super risky. And that's why you see them making games that are sort of safe, that they know will work. Right? That's why they feel the same, because you can't spend $200 million on something that, if it doesn't hit and doesn't have a long tail for you to update it in post, like say a Sea of Thieves, then that was a waste. And this is why we don't see a Days Gone 2. So, I'm saying this to say what Xbox has shown, because every one of these games, they're single player. Right? Fable, single player.
Yep. Vowed,
South
single
of Midnight,
player.
Single player.
Yeah.
Clockwork Revolution. I don't see how that could be multiplayer. Right? Hellblade, single player. Right? So what
Starfield,
Xbox is
single
showing
player.
you,
Yep.
Starfield, single player. What Xbox is showing you is, you already know we have multiplayer and service games on lock. Guess what we can also do too at the highest level? Single player games. And we're doing it because this is their identity now. RPGs, expansive, Western, long tail, play for hundreds and hundreds of hours, RPGs, right? So they've found a way through Game Pass to make AAA and quadruple A single player games sustainable. And that, I think, is the biggest, apart from putting respect on Matt B's name, that's the biggest takeaway from this, right? Like they're showing you, if you are into single player, this is the place you need to be. And this is the first time where I felt like, you know what? If I only had an Xbox and this all comes to fruition, I'd be fine.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Right?
So Everborn, to add to that, they showed JRPGs.
Oh, dude, a ton.
Coming to Game Pass. Like, they showed more good stuff than Sony did. I'm just saying.
No, it's
they were bringing the heat. This was a fantastic showcase.
So speaking of that's one part I left out, and I'll end it right here. It's time for my obligatory Sega talk, people. Sega has fully embraced the Xbox ecosystem
100%.
And Game Pass.
Right? You
Atlas.
You cannot get closer than this apart from an acquisition. Look at this. The Persona games are announced on the Xbox days. They launched a new IP that is potentially exclusive, but if not, Microsoft has the marketing rights. All of their new games that aren't gonna be mega blockbusters, like sell millions of copies, like a Sonic or a Yakuza, but all the other stuff, they put them in Game Pass. They can't stop talking about the success. How much closer do they have to get for this thing to put a ring on it? And the only thing standing in the way is Activision, which will be closing in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
it's happening, people.
Well,
Okay,
we shall see.
They announced it.
I want to bring in Hargeet China now, folks. Obviously, I had pitched this show as being we're going to get into FTC, which we're going to get on the back end of it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm going to let Everborn. We'll get everyone's quick hot takes, and we're going to let Everborn break down exactly why this was a big deal to have it to basically, goat the FTC into filing for an injunction. But before we get to Hargeet, I got to catch up in Super Chats. My God, there's been so many of them. Sir X-Men drops a very generous $2 Super Chat and says, Phil shows he plays games. Jim Ryan, what about you? Here, Kirby Zero Louise says, say it loud and say it clear. 30 frames aren't welcome here. Also, ROG Ally impressing me, and I haven't even gotten to the emulators yet. Yeah, I do. I gotta work on mine for sure. I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Igmatic Dreams drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I think the creative choice is meant to be they don't want to compromise graphics or remove any environmental things like boarding ships and building. And that could be exactly what's going on. Mike drops a very generous $5.50 super chat and says, it's a creative choice whether to focus on gameplay mechanics or performance optimization. Development resources are not infinite. Mike Clark drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, it takes more CPU grunt to run Starfield than they say press X in a QTE. Gigs Bosson drops a very generous $5 or $2 super chat, says, so most powerful in 2020 equals limitless power in 2023 ? I'm not sure if that's slanderous or not, but I mean, listen.
No, it's not. He's saying that, like, yes, most powerful console. Yes, it's 12 teraflops, but that was 2012, and games get more demanding.
Okay, yeah. So that's way. All right. So thank you for
2020. Sorry, and we're in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The look. It is what it is. Play if you have a monster rig, play Starfield on your PC, and you'll have your 60 frames. Dan Lazaro drops an additional $5 super chat and says, Asante, your argument is circular. The artist can only paint with the tools he has at the time. It doesn't mean the artist is lying. I mean, look, again,
I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying they could be honest with why they are not giving you what you're giving you, but instead they're saying we did it because we wanted to do it that way.
But what if that's really what he wanted to do, though? See what I'm saying?
If that's the case, then you'll
and the time. That's what they wanted to do.
Sure, but that's today. Tomorrow's a different conversation. Let's move forward. The fact that this will change tomorrow is why.
I don't know that it will change, though. They have not announced that.
Oh, do you want to bet me, Everborn?
No, but I'm saying it may not even be tomorrow. It could be a year. It could be 2 years. What happens if they don't offer 60 frames until the actual next console?
Sure, it may very well be next gen, which is fine, right? But if it's a true choice, you would do that on PC as well.
I think you're taking the hard line on it, and I feel like I feel like you're trying to make a point, so you're kind of ignoring the elephant in the room. If you are trying to control the experience that you want your players to have, you look at your constraints, and then you make a creative decision to say, based on these constraints, and time is a constraint, this is what I want creatively for the players to have. That is a creative decision.
I'll let you have that one. Sure.
We can talk about it on Saturday.
I would imagine this conversation is going to continue on Saturday's Gaming Circle podcast. We're going to be tuning in for that. We have Hell Bananance help me out. What is that name? It's Hell Bananzit. I butchered the name. I apologize. I want to thank you. First of all, they drop a $20 super chat, a 20-pound super chat, mind you, and then an additional 10-pound super chat and the super sticker. So thank you so much for the generosity and welcome to the program. I hope that you are enjoying it. LMNOPO drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Lucas Coles, the lead lighting artist for Playground Games, even shouted out people couldn't believe Fable footage was the game engine. Yes, I did see that. Jean Mark Lewis drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, I'm with Everborn. I see, I like, I take. In regards to the ships. And of course, Spartan.
That's my shit, punk.
Spartan 661 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, each relic you find gives you another ability, ? I kind of think that's what it is, but we'll learn soon enough. I mean, we're in the middle of June. September is right around the corner. September 1st, if you get the special edition, which why wouldn't you? Hargeet, look, You were there. You got a chance to have an amazing time. Probably one of the best things you've ever done because of how close the Xbox C-level executives were. I mean, they were just hanging out. I mean, I've never seen anything. I've been fortunate enough to be invited, thanks to Gotham Guy, who's in the chat, who made me his +1 for E3 2019's Fan Fest. And I met everybody. The only one I missed was Phil, because I was hanging out with 343 and getting their autograph on Starfield on Halo Infinite. And King David was calling me. He's like, "I'm with Phil. Where are you?" And by the time I got there, Phil was gone. But you know what? Such is life.
And was this in FanFest itself, where you would like meeting people in FanFest?
Yes, in actual Fan
So,
Fest, yeah.
Hint: the thing to do is to stay at the JW Marriott, because they all stay there. And so you hang out in the lounge and you will see everybody. And
That's
after
amazing.
10 p.m., the entire freaking the media and the content creators just descend upon the JW Marriott. So you
That's
meet
awesome.
everyone.
That's
so
awesome.
that's the thing to do, is you don't like you can wait for FanFest, that's cool, but you don't have to. Like the few days ahead of it, you will see everyone. With Keeley's was on Thursday, so we had several days. Thursday onwards, where just everybody descended on the JW Marriott. It was great. So if you want to meet people, that's what you do. Like we actually had like dinner with Jason Ronald. We hung out with like all sorts of Xbox people, but all sorts of community people too.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Great.
I mean, the executives are nice, but I like meeting the people, the actual other content creators that you hang out with, you work with. You don't get a chance to meet in real life. But let's get your hot take on the show, Hargeet. Where was the show for you? What's your game of the show? And then of course we'll get into quickly the Lina Khan situation.
Yeah, so I met the team. So you saw Tina, who ran the extended showcase, right? She runs the entire showcase team, and so I met her, and I met a couple of people on her team, and it was pretty cool. They were very confident about what they had, and they wanted to know what we thought of it afterwards. I gave it a solid B. I had some nitpicks, but that was it. I mean, it was a very solid show. It was really good, but the things I found annoying were, again, the Hellblade thing, which I think most people have mentioned. There's still no combat. We've had 3, 4, 5 now showings of this thing, and still no combat. At some point, we kind of need to see that. Now, maybe the reason they probably did this is A, there's stuff going on, but B, just to tell you that the game is still there. But B, we like complained enough about seeing with Redfall PC gameplay, and said no, we need to see Xbox gameplay, and they obliged. Right, so that was Xbox gameplay, and that was what they were trying to show with that. Fair enough, but I still want to see the combat. That is just it's a knock. They should have shown combat, or said, we'll show combat,
at a later date.
At a later date.
Yeah.
None of that, right? Even if it was at the extended showcase, they showed, Hellblade at the extended showcase, and no combat. So, we've had a showing of that at what was it, GDC? Is that the developers where they had the demo of UE5 and the ability to capture the face and all that? So we saw it there. We've had like 2 or 3 trailers before that in showcases, right? So we had the Game Awards again, right? It's like, at this point, like, come on, show me the game. What is the gameplay? What's the combat? They haven't done that. The 3060 thing, that's huge. They were supposed to tell us at the showcase. They didn't. They showed us an interview afterwards with IGN. I found out about that right afterwards, that IGN had that interview, and it was going to drop in a couple of hours. And I talked to Pete Hines about it afterwards, before that IGN thing, and I got the hint. It's 30. And, that was kind of their design choice. That's the way it is. So with all these talks of it's going to go 60, I don't hold your breath. That's not something that they really are going to care about. It's 30. It is uncapped on PC. We don't know the specs required for PC, so the assumption that it's just going to run on run-of-the-mill.
It is on Steam, though. The requirements, the minimum spec and the base requirements are on Steam.
That's Steam's assumption. I don't know that that's final. So it is going to be a pretty heavy-duty game. So we'll see. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. But it is going to be somewhat heavy on the requirements. Either way, I did also talk to them about the other thing I didn't like, which was release dates. So they gave us release window of 2024 for several games. And the reason they did that, of course, is they can't make release dates anymore. They seem to fail every time. So they decided we're not going to do it. So that was what Pete Hines was telling me anyways, is that they're just going to like leave it open and hopefully they can actually make a release date.
So Hargeet, this is what Kay Asante and I had been saying this, and I've been beating that drum for a while. A lot of the problems that they ended up with this year would have been avoided if they would have just said 2023 instead of the next 12 months. So I think giving a year, I think you can call a year out. And as long as you get it in before December, you didn't lie to people, right? So I think it's true, right?
It is true. It is true.
And also you cannot. This is not Babe Ruth. You can't point to the home run when you're this far out on software development, especially for something like a game, right? Like these things happen, and in the last minute, you could find a bug that requires testing and fixing and all these things that could push your project date out 3 months or longer.
And that's all fine. The problem, this is Microsoft, and they have not delivered games. That's been the problem. So if should I assume 2024 means it'll actually show up in 2024? Because my faith in that is pretty low.
Maybe.
So that's the problem, right? If they can't lock anything down, well, then that means I don't know if it's coming in 2024. Maybe it's 2025. Maybe it's 2026. I don't know. Until they start delivering, which they still haven't, I don't know what the answer is, right? Redfall was the last big game they delivered, which was kind of a problem and probably should never.
They put an update out for that today, by the way.
There's a patch. Maybe it gets a little bit better. I don't know, whatever. But that's kind of the problem, right? So where they are is where they are, right? So if they had a constant delivery model and I have any expectation that 2024 means, sure, they'll deliver in 2024, cool. But they haven't done that. So I don't know what that really means, right? So I'm gonna dock them for that. There are other nitpicks I had, and those were things like ESO and Fallout 76. And we had a Sea of Thieves crossover, which was cool.
So
we had
one.
Oh, sorry.
One thing. I'm trying to get like Xbox fans to understand that these are service games that have tens of millions of players. If you have a 2-hour show, I just think we have to allow
it was a 1 hour show,
10 to 15 minute. Well, sure, that's true. It
was a 1 hour show.
You got 45 minutes Starfield, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
We have to allow 5 to 10 minutes of those service games in
No, we don't, because we have another show. The extended showcase.
But you don't want them to feel like second-class citizens. Those are the ones spending the money.
They are. It's not about second-class citizens. It's when they announce the game, right? Like we're announcing, Elder Scrolls Online. Okay, cool. Now we're done with the announcement. Now it's season, and I don't care, right? It's just like Halo Season 4. Put that somewhere else. I don't need to see it. Flight Simulator, I'll give it to them because that's a new game. That's Flight Simulator 2024. Okay, fine. I'll give you that one. And it looks kind of cool, right? But when it comes to these seasonal updates, Overwatch was another one. I'm like, no, stop. It was a total lull. I'll just give you that. It was a total lull. Nobody was sitting there going, yeah! No, it was like, okay. All right, yeah.
Because we don't play those service games, but the people that you want to stay invested in it, you got to show them that you care.
It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's perfectly fine to put it in the extended showcase, like they did the ID at Xbox thing, right? They had a nice sizzle reel of all the ID at Xbox games. I love that. That was good. Put it over there. That's good, right? If I want to watch that, I'm happy to watch it there. It just was a lull. It dragged. It was just not fun. That part of it was just like meh. Like it was so good to begin, like, and then suddenly I'm like, okay, all right, when is this part over? And then we finally get back to the games that we wanted to watch, right? So now to that point, people will watch things like Yakuza and say, why is this crap here? Persona, oh, why? Right? Whereas other people will say that's awesome, right? That's just the way it is. So, but I like those live service updates. Sorry, Everborn. I'm sorry. Season updates,
I know they have to be there, but they
Push 'em
can
off.
be a drag. There's no doubt, Harky.
And,
Don't
Yeah.
care.
and by the way, I don't like any of those games, right?
No,
Like,
me
it
either.
was a dull point for me. I've just come to accept that if you have service games with tens of millions of players, you got to make them feel like first class citizens, and they're going to be there whether we like them or not. So I've gone through my depression phases, and now I'm at the
I'll
stage
give
of
you guys an
acceptance
example.
when
My
it comes
brother,
to these
Neo
service
Mental,
games.
who's in the chat. I called him during the Sea of Thieves things because he is by far one of the biggest Monkey Island fans. Like, that's his joint. And he was like, "Bro, I can't believe what I just saw. I gotta download this stupid game and start playing," because he's such a big fan. I mean, like, when I say he's a fan, he's a huge fan. So I mean, they don't do anything for me, Harky. I'll be at first. I do the big old yawn because I don't play those games, but I understand and I accept, like everyone said, they have to be there because they do have tens of millions of fans that do play these games and do look forward to these new expansions. It's fine. Again, I know Rand, obviously, who was talking about this exact point on the Xbox 2. He's like, that's like 8 or 9 minutes that they could have showed something else.
Yep.
And he's right. Rand is 100% right. But look, at the end of the day, I'm glad that you got a chance to go and experience it like live. I know some of the big announcements, like with Fable. I was in the crowd in 2019 when it had some big announcements, and the electricity in that crowd must have just been.
It was awesome. Yeah. So for most of those announcements, especially like that one, it was very electric. It was great.
Yeah.
Avowed, Clockwork Revolution. Is that what it is? Clockwork
Revolution. Yeah. By
very cool. Like most of the showings were very, very good. Hellblade again was a thud. So for some people, of course, all the Japanese RPGs did not land. For some people, it did.
Yeah.
But I think it's great that they're going after that. Showing a new Capcom thing, a new Atlas game. Like this is just cool stuff. They really are going all out with the Japanese stuff. So they're really trying to get into that market. So that's pretty good. And the overall showcase was great. That part was a lull. I didn't dock it for that, by the way. I think it's fine. It's like you guys saying, it's there. The problem for me is I'm looking for new stuff. That's not new stuff, right? I'm looking for what's new. That's what a showcase is to me. I don't need like the season 35 of Call of Duty Warzone. Why? Just why? That was another thud when it came to Keeley's showcase. We had Modern Warfare 2 season, yada yada yada. Again, huh? Nobody was interested in that. Like it was just like a thud. Like, but the other stuff was cool. Having freaking Mortal Kombat show, that was awesome. Ed Boon show, dude, it was so good. We had Sam Lake show up for Alan Wake. It was so good, right? But when it comes to those kind of things, it is what it is. So I would just move that off. But I didn't dock them for that. It was 3060 Hellblade. No release dates. Like this stuff just has to change. So those are the things why I didn't make it an A. It's it's a B, a solid B. And so that's what I felt with it. But it was very good. A lot of fun. Everybody was very happy. I think the majority of the grades were A's and B's across the board. Definitely better than what Sony put out.
I mean, like even Keeley's audience when he did the poll.
Yeah.
A large number of people gave it an A, and a large number of people gave it a B. It was like almost like I think it was like 82% of the people that voted. I think there was like 140 plus thousand people that voted on Keeley's. That's a lot of people, folks. I mean, that's and it was 82% of it was like A's and B's. That's pretty impressive for that audience specifically.
Yeah. So I mean, and they were happy with it, right? So even ask Phil, you feeling better now, Phil? How are things going? You're up there. We're all
holding the line. He's not grumpy, Phil.
I have my Hold the Line shirt on.
Nice.
Aaron had his Hold the Line shirt on.
Saw
it was
that.
Great. We had a bunch of people with that. It was a lot of fun. Risk It for the Biscuit had the best time, dude. He came out from Australia. and he got called several times. Like he got videoed several times. It was just great for him. He won a few things randomly. It was awesome.
That's so cool. I love it. He's a really good dude. It's good to see that
so much fun.
that he enjoyed himself. But
yeah, the showcase I thought was fantastic, with those little few caveats that made it from an A to me to made it a B. As far as the 3060, man, everybody knew it was going to be 30, right? We all knew. We all
kind of figured it. Yeah,
we all knew it was going to be 30. But it's still disappointing that it couldn't do the 60. But I get it. I get what they're trying to do. But look, I had already resigned to this. Like Holt had already resigned to this, that we were going to play this on PC. It's just the way it is. We knew it was going to be 30 on console. We're just going to play it on PC. It's just, it is what it is. And that's what it's going to go on my 4090. That's where I'm going to play this game. And I did talk to Pete about it. It is uncapped. So you can, whatever your power is, it'll do whatever you can. So, on PC, you can do whatever you want.
Sure.
But that's kind of what for that showcase. For Keeley's, several great moments. Several were kind of thuds, but several great moments. But yeah, it was pretty good. I don't know. Did you guys like the Keeley show?
I enjoyed it. Like I said, there was a lot of things that I did like. Some things I didn't care for. I think I gave it an 8. I think I gave it a B. Somewhere around there. minus. I think it's just below what the Xbox showcase was for me. It had a lot of great announcements. It's a good multi-plat thing. Yeah,
but the showcase for Xbox was just a tier above it. I think it was a tier above it. It had a lot more cool things. But yeah, and it's mostly because it tells you why Xbox exists, right? They actually give you a roadmap of Xbox stuff at the Xbox showcase, which was really good. And the Keeley's is just kind of a more general thing, and a lot of cool announcements there. Everyone, what do you think of the Sonic thing? Were you happy?
Oh, he was crazy for that. Yeah, I mean, I went crazy for that. I was like, whoa, a new Sonic? What happened? When I didn't hear about that.
Oh my god!
People, by the way, loved it.
I didn't even know we were talking. It
was great.
That, but like, I was at work when that trailer was going off, and then my phone kept vibrating because literally more than 10 people tagged me like, I know everyone's going crazy right now, and I'm like, and I responded to Luca like, crazy for what? What's going on? They were like, a new Sonic game? What? And then he comes out, and I love Sonic Mania, and I always griped about this to Kei Asante. I'm like, why didn't they do that game with the fresh coat of paint with today's graphics, like Super Mario Deluxe? Right? That would have been perfect. Sonic deserves it.
#fix Sonic.
Oh, wow.
Chunky Sonic. But they
my bad. Chunky
it.
Sonic. Chunky Sonic.
They did it. They did exactly what people were looking for. This is all. There's a huge swath of Sonic fans that don't like any of the 3D games. And they feel like Sonic should have stayed 2D. I'm not one of those people. I love the 3D games.
I'm sorry. I like 3D Sonic.
But like 2D Sonic coming back like this, oh my god. Right? I don't care if it's in Game Pass, and it's probably going to end up in Game Pass. I am buying it. I'm buying it on Steam. I'm buying it on the Xbox. Listen.
Buy it on Switch.
All right. Enough of the Sonic talk. What about Prince of Persia? That was amazing.
That looked really good. Like, I saw some people actually trying to poo-poo that. That game looks phenomenal.
Looked good.
So good.
That's what it started
there is some
with.
Controversy about this, and I know this one's for you, Dutch. If Dutch is still with us. The $50 price tag on Prince of Persia.
Yikes!
How do we feel about that?
That's not good.
This is Ubisoft, right? This is Ubisoft we're talking about.
Anybody
needs the money.
Yeah.
When Mirage is the same price, I cannot justify 50.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Let me ask you a question though. How much do you game on the Switch? Probably none at all.
Yeah, I'm not comparing a Switch game to this. Nintendo are in a different ballpark.
Okay.
Like I'm comparing it for what's available on consoles and what's available for indies on consoles, generic consoles, not Nintendo, because they're in their own fairy tale land. You're talking 25, 30 for an indie game. A big indie.
That's a $30 game. Like if they wanted to charge $29.99 for that game, I would gladly drop down the money and not think twice.
How much?
I'm a huge. I'm old, guys. You know, I'm like the old guy on the panel. No doubt about that. I remember playing the OG Prince of Persia. You know what I'm saying? Like on the
How much did Ori cost? I feel like this is more Ori like.
Not even that.
I
Not
don't
even
think. I think our Ori was $30, maybe.
I thought it was 30,
20?
right?
I
feel
I'd
like
have
this
to
is
look that up.
Ori level of commitment. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I do hear you
think
that
it's
it's way
around.
too
I
expensive.
think it's around $30. But
Yeah.
look,
I would pay
one thing I do
$50
want
for
to
that
say is
Sonic game.
we're at the
Yeah, it
2
was
hour.
$29.99 for Ori.
There you go. So
$29.99.
$30. I was correct.
Yeah.
We're at the 2 hour and 5 minute mark. I know that Dutch is super late where he is. What I want to do, folks, and like I said, I apologize because I originally pitched this as talking about the FTC, but to be quite honest with you, I'm actually glad we didn't. We're going to get into it for a couple of minutes because I really want Everborn to break it down the way he explained it to me in K-Sante this morning, because there's a lot of misconception on this being bad for the deal. It is the greatest thing that could have happened to the deal. Yeah, and Hargeet will get into it for a second. Everborn, break it down exactly what happened, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding with an injunction versus the temporary restraining order. I think that the words kind of scare some people. The temporary restraining order was always going to be a thing. That's only lasts for 2 weeks, folks. And that's when this is when it's going to go in front of the judge. And it just so happens, if you didn't know, it's going in front of the same exact judge that denied the first injunction from the gamers lawsuit. So there's a lot of things going in the favor of ABK, but I'll let Everborn break this down.
So this didn't just start today. I think we all have been paying attention to what's going on with the CMA.
Yes.
But weirdly, we started seeing articles being published by, first it was like, outliers where you didn't really know where it was coming from. Like it wasn't like named people saying that, oh, Microsoft is considering ways of closing over the UK, right? It started in Seeking Alpha. Then you saw some other outlets reporting it, but then you started seeing Bloomberg saying it, and then from Bloomberg you started seeing Reuters saying it. So at that point, once Reuters and Bloomberg are reporting a thing, you feel like it's out of the speculation realm, and this is either leaked on so that you believe that it's something that's real. But then you think, well, why is that happening? Is that nothing with a deal of this size is about what it's about, right? So we now see that even though the CMCs and the appeal with the case management conference with the CMA during the CAT hearing, all that's going on, and Microsoft is they're getting basically what they want. The judge allowed them to bring in expert evidence, and the CMA was fighting against that. The CMA wanted a longer trial, and they didn't want to start till the winter. The judge said no. They tried to push out the date, so it was going to be July 24th. Now it's July 28th that starts. So we thought, okay, that's happening. That's being expedited. Great. And we knew that the reason the FTC tried to sue in their own in-house court to begin with was to save or to waste time, right? They were trying to use time and use their administrative clock administrative process to run out the clock. So we were thinking there's no way they're going to go to a federal court, because the federal court would throw this out. And that's why they didn't go to the federal court to begin with. That's why they didn't let the DOJ handle this, because they usually only go to federal courts. They don't use the in-house judge or whatever. So we thought that they were just going to wait until their August trial and Microsoft was going to close over them. But on Monday, we hear that the FTC is moving for a preliminary injunction because they were reading about the reports in the news that Microsoft was considering closing over the CMA. And then they asked Microsoft about it, and Microsoft says, yeah, we can close this deal anytime after Friday. And so now the FTC has to go and file for a TRO and a PI. A TRO is a temporary restraining order. A PI is a preliminary injunction. Now, the importance there is when you usually file those together, because if you want a preliminary injunction, the judge has to hear some they have to hear some evidence. They have to know why you think you deserve this, and that takes time. So until there is some order in place, people can consummate an acquisition whenever they want. Microsoft could have moved to close on Activision whenever they wanted, because nothing the FTC does not have the power to block a deal. This is why they don't approve deals. They just step out of the way. It is only a federal court that can block a deal. The FTC can delay it. The FTC can present a case to a federal judge, but the whole in-house administrative process, all that is, it doesn't really give them that kind of power. Now, we all were saying Microsoft would force their hand at some point. So the FTC now has to go to federal court to request injunctive relief. And that means please bar them from closing the deal until our administrative process plays out. And but in order to do that, you have to get the TRO. So the TRO is almost always granted, right? So when you see a temporary restraining order, they're going to usually give that without even looking at the case, so that the parties can't close while they look at the evidence. Now, that's where we are when we came into the show. The judge has granted the TRO, and now they were setting up for a trial. Oh, the other thing we missed out, and we didn't miss this, you said it, Boom, is that the case is going to be heard by Judge. She's an Article 3 judge, which means she's a lifetime appointee. She doesn't have to worry about any politics of being replaced. But she's a federal judge in the Northern District of California, Jacqueline Scott Corley, right? She has been dealing with the gamer lawsuit, which happened right around the time, which originated right around the time the FTC moved to sue to block the deal. I think that's a coincidence. That's not a coincidence, but we'll come back to that later. I told you what I thought on that. Boom. So now, when we started the show, we saw that Microsoft has requested that Microsoft wants a speedy decision, and they want, instead of 2 days that the judge was offering, 2 days of evidence hearings, Microsoft wanted 5 days. So breaking news, Judge Corley granted Microsoft the 5 days.
Holy crap. That's huge.
And the FTC was trying to push back against that. And the reason Microsoft wanted 5 days is because they wanted to finish all the evidentiary hearings in the administrative case in the FTC's court, so they have everything they need. And now they have 5 days to show how wrong the FTC is to a judge who already, on record, when throwing out the gamer lawsuit, says there is no evidence presented that shows Microsoft has any plans to take Call of Duty exclusive, and I don't believe the financial incentive works.
Right.
Now, the other thing about the FTC, because this happened so fast, is that they're still largely using the same complaint from December, and it's not updated, right? So they're going to have to fight on the console theory of harm, which has been thrown out by 39 or 40 countries around the world already, even the one who wants to block the deal. They're going to focus on cloud, which, again, it's not really a market, and federal judges, I don't think, have the leeway, the same kind of leeway that the CMA regulators do. They're just going to go by the laws on the books, and they're going to have to prove that a vertical merger is bad when federal judges have not really blocked a vertical merger in something like 50 years. So not by and large. So it is an uphill battle, but what this means is, and I'm trying to be as succinct as possible. What this means is now that the FTC, for fear that Microsoft was going to close this deal over them, has moved for a preliminary injunction. That hearing will happen from July 21st until June 21st through the 29th. That's it. And then the judge will decide in about a week. So that's about how long the TRO lasts for. Well, 5 days after the judge issues the ruling. So effectively, this deal, this is going to put them right up to the time around July 14th-ish, when you have a decision and your 5 days has passed and they can close the deal. And if the FTC brings a preliminary injunction case, right now the rules on their books say, and they don't have a choice around this, that it automatically stays the administrative process. And if they want to keep that going, they have to ask the parties' permission. That would be like asking Microsoft if you could still sue them.
And that's not going to happen.
Right. So now that doesn't mean that they can't bring another case or they can't try to, but the rules on the book right now say the case is automatically stayed. So this is it. This is as high stakes poker as you get. If the FTC does not get the preliminary injunction from a judge who's already not granted a preliminary injunction, there are differences here, right, that we should point out, where in the gamer lawsuit, they were trying to prove personal harm to those individuals, which the judge said was bullcrap. In this, the FTC just has to prove harm to competition. So there's two different standards of but
they don't even have enough evidence to prove that. They just don't.
Just adding to your thing, Everborn, on the cloud. In the CMA's case, they do have the leeway to look at potential future harm.
Right.
The FTC does not. So
No,
they would
they
have to
have to
prove
have
harm
evidence.
to today's market.
Correct.
Right.
So
Also,
they don't have that option.
And they'll have to
think of it this way: VR is a much larger market than cloud, and that is allowed to have Meta at 75%. Just pointing that out, right? That they have a much larger market share, and that the FTC was not able to block that merger
because they didn't make their case, right?
It's just the way because it's too nascent. Like in our jurisprudence, you have to prove harm in a market that's established, that's going to kill competition. In a market that's being created, it's just not a thing. They let it go. Most of the judges are going to let it go because they want you to try and make the market. That's the U.S. system. The CMA has that potential leverage, but they don't have it here. So good luck.
Now this is where it gets interesting, right? So the FTC, it seems like anyway, they have an uphill battle unless they have some sort of a smoking gun. But if they had that, I feel like we would have heard about it by now. But we'll see. And the reason we would have heard about it is because they're doing all their evidentiary hearings right now for the administrative process.
Yep.
So if the FTC loses, it is game over. Now, Microsoft did tell the judge if the FTC wins, it's game over for the deal. But I think they said that because they want to be very they want to make sure that this is a dire thing, and the judge will have to weigh potentially killing a $70 billion deal off of novel theories of harm, right? So there is all of that in the background. Now, what happens once it closes, I do not think the CMA wants to be caught with their pants down without the backup from the FTC. And so I don't even think it will be a matter of closing over this.
They'll just take the
UK,
deal,
right?
Yeah.
And even if they did close over the UK, the max fine they could get would be 5% of earnings in the prior year, which would be about $10 billion. But they're not going to get that fee, right? Facebook just closed. When they fined Facebook $70 million, 55 million euros or pounds, the CMA, when they closed over them, right? They're not going to charge them the full $10 billion, which is 5% of revenue. And even if they did, for Microsoft to extend the merger agreement with Activision, what is Activision going to be worth now that they have Diablo 4 out and they've had two of the largest quarters back to back, like in the history of the company? They may say, we want another $15 billion on the price tag.
Yep.
We don't want 68 anymore, right?
At which point, pay the 10, right?
Exactly.
Pay the 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, indeed.
And
Yeah.
you're not going to pay the 10 because you're going to fight that for 2 years or in court. And while you're fighting that, the UK and the US are going to be working on a trade agreement. And then you call up Maria Cantwell and tell her to give the UK the Japan treatment, where you say, what are you trying to do? Block into American companies? Get rid of that fine and let them do business. So there's really, this is, you have to, you cannot close it over both of them, but if they can beat the FTC, they can close the deal with the consequences, because that doesn't happen right away. You're going to adjudicate that, and again, there are geopolitical things at play that will make it worth it. Now, what people are saying, how lucky did Microsoft get that they got the same judge that threw out the gamer lawsuit, who threw it out the first time and then didn't grant a preliminary injunction the second time, and the second time the case was almost identical to the FTC's case.
Yeah, it's going to be.
How lucky did they get? So, and this is the last thing I'll say. Here's the conspiracy time. What if?
Tinfoil hat time, folks.
This is it. What if that gamer lawsuit was a contingency plan, so that whenever the FTC did move for a preliminary injunction, they would already have a judge who is very familiar with the case and would know and have all the background. And you would get to, because Sony's helped, you would get to see Sony's plans for this thing. And you knew that if a judge was hearing a similar case, just through efficiencies in the court, that judge would then get assigned this case for when there was a preliminary injunction from the FTC.
It is certainly a theory.
So, and the last thing is, so if you're being really Machiavellian, those ideas of closing over the CMA, they didn't need to be real. They served their job into scaring the UK and the FTC and making them think it's serious enough that they have to go to federal court, who you have seated a case. Someone's saying I sound like Alex Jones right now. I'm just saying it's very convenient that the case now gets the same judge who's already looked at a very similar, or is currently looking at a very similar case, and did not grant a preliminary injunction. Right? So, right. So, what they're saying in the chat is, yes, it would have been transferred there anyway. And what I am saying is, yes, you would know that. If you're a high-paid lawyer, you'd know that it would get transferred there anyway. So wouldn't it be good to prime the pump with a frivolous case you know you wouldn't lose, but it would get that judge prepped for this decision?
Look, I will say this, folks. This has been an amazing show, amazing theory. Everyone, thank you. And of course, Hargi, for jumping in and breaking down some finite points. I'm going to read these last few super chats. We're going to get everyone out here. We have Pariah 2525 OG Gaming drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, the Microsoft show was good. Most of what they showed was solid. I give it a B+. Angry Hippie drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, didn't we just do the that's not gameplay with Playground with Horizon 5? Yeah, I remember that controversy, and of course, it really was gameplay. Alvin drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, it's not just Xbox not giving dates. No one is on any of the shows. It's an industry standard now. We need to stop expecting them beyond 6 months. I mean, that is true. That is true to some extent. We also have Enigmatic Dreams drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says, I just want to give a shout out to your wife, Mrs. Boomstick, for being supportive and helping you with all your shows. Thank you for all that you do for her. Brother, yeah, she's the rock, bro. I mean, like right now, I usually at night times she gets out of work, I spend time with her. So she gives up one of her evenings for me to do the show at night. She's incredibly supportive, and I could not do this channel without her support. Dan Lazaro drops an additional $5 super chat. Says, Hargeet, my singular feelings of what's exciting is more important than what tens of millions of other people's the needs of the needs of the people. Hargeet. Basically, he's saying that
I'm not allowed opinions. Okay.
I mean, listen, you're entitled to it, brother. I mean, listen, I agree. Like I said, I don't think that they have a place. They don't resonate with me per se, but I understand why they're there. They make a lot of money, and they got to show that audience. Dan, brother, thank you so much for the additional super chat. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, the judge from the Gamer case asked for this case. I did not know that, but that's we're gonna learn in the next couple of days what this is about.
It wouldn't make sense for another judge to take it if you have a judge that is already
that's already been dealing with this for the last 6 months, 100%. Because then there's too much evidence, is too much.
You don't want to waste the court's time, and if someone is familiar with it, that's
Lina Khan is wasting the court's time, but that's why she's ultimately going to lose. But let's get everyone out of here. Kay Asante, you got a big show coming up on Saturday. I don't know if you're going to have any additional guests, but I'm sure it's going to be spicy between you and everyone, as it always is. Please sell the brand of the Gaming Circle podcasts Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, we have a pretty great show. We're beneficial in that we have to wait till the dust settles, and then we get to talk about all the things that were. And of course, the dust is settling now, and we're seeing a lot more news coming out, all the great games and stuff. So come check us out this Saturday. I'm sure there'll be a lot more news by then, not more of the stuff coming out after everybody knows the new code names and whatnot. So it will be super, super interesting. Additionally, Mr. Everborn Saga has his hands on the ROG Ally, which he is the only one who has one because I did not purchase one. So
I have one.
I look forward.
The only one. A lot of people got them. You the only one.
No, I'm talking about. I am talking about on our show,
He's
sir.
got his too. Look, there it is.
I'm talking about on our show, sir. So I will look forward to hearing Everborn Saga's takes on how it works, what he likes, what he doesn't like. It'll be an interesting show. So check us out Saturday Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. We'll be having our PG-13 slander as we tend to. So it's always fun.
Let me ask you a question. When you saw everybody today sharing the fact that they got their ROG allies, they're taking pictures of them, you didn't feel some kind of way. You didn't feel nothing. Well, you was like, damn.
I felt good for you guys. I hope you enjoy yourselves. That's how I felt.
You're not gang right now.
Bro, I have more technology in my office than most people experience in their entire lives.
But you don't got this one.
Don't worry about it.
You don't got this, do you?
Folks, if you like the brother fighting, you're gonna love it on Saturdays. Get in there and subscribe. Everborn, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the Everborn Saga. Are you going to be at New York Comic Con this year? This is what I want to know.
We put in the application. We are waiting to hear back. We are also put in the application for Anime NYC, which would be very big for us if you know.
Oh, dude, that would be huge for you. Are you kidding me? That's one of the biggest anime shows in the country.
Yeah, we're trying to get in. Obviously, we've been in before, but it's very competitive now. So I don't know if you tag New York Comic Con, maybe tag me. I've tagged them a bunch of times, but maybe if they see the people, we can get in there. So we're trying very hard to get in, and we do have a new release planned to line up with the show. That's nice. Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2. We are almost done with that. And by the way, in the background, I'm going to show you some new animations that are going to blow your mind.
Oh, I can't wait, brother. So looking forward to it. Have all the books already. It's phenomenal.
But go to everbornsaga.com. Check out the books. If you click on any book, you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see we have a bundle. $49.99 for the entire collection. That's 6 chapters, 300 pages, full color, epic fantasy, different timelines, all those things, interchanging characters. Check it out, everyonesaga.com. ROG Ally Game.
Absolutely. Mandingo McThickens drops a very generous $2, which says, "Don't you worry, Boom. McThickens will deal with Lina."
Wow.
Goodness. Hargi Chani, please, by all means, sell the brand of Game On Daily. The last show obviously was phenomenal. I was in the chat. I was hanging out with Gaz being Gaz and Asa being Asa. And they just do such great work over there. Sell it, brother. Sell the brand. And of course, we know he does septic sauce, but he also has the regular sauce. See, septic sauce is too much for Boom because it crosses a line, even though I understand it's Gaz. I like the regular sauce stuff, though. I like the regular. Septic sauce is too much for me.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I totally missed all of the shows during the weekend, obviously, because I was out in LA. But yeah, it the sauce. There's got it. We're goading him to make one now. He has to make one about the showcase and the reactions from all the nice little Sony fanboys. It was a 4. It was terrible. Sure. Yep.
I'm sure he's working on it as we speak. He's writing the script as we speak. Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, it's GameOnDaily.com, YouTube.com/GameOnDaily. Of course, there's also RDX, and we had Gaz on as a guest on RDX yesterday. Check out that episode, but 8 o'clock every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern US. Check us out here, of course, Primetime Gaming, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. US Eastern. And then tomorrow with Zocker and So Shady, we'll have the Zealots of Gaming at 8 p.m. US Eastern as well. So, yeah, check out all that fun stuff and enjoy the games.
Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out. We had over 800 people here. We actually started encroaching on 900 people, which is, that's unbelievable. I remember that, like I say this all the time, it was difficult to get 100 people here, and now we have this many amazing community interactions on each and every show. I honestly can't thank you enough for not only being here, but the generosity. I mean, there were so many super chats today. It's bonkers. We are incredibly grateful for that kind of support. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Folks, hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.